All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 105. Thank you guys for waiting patiently and hanging out here while the member credits, the intro member credits roll. Appreciate you guys showing up here every week and waiting patiently. You know that. And I obviously appreciate the continued support you show the channel as well as the podcast. So, yeah, happy Easter to everybody. It is a pretty big holiday, so I'm hoping that everybody is spending some quality time with their families and, you know, just enjoying the day, having a good Sunday. Yeah, I have a different hat on today. I'm trying to change it up. IG Shiro, you're saying hats on backwards. MBG's feeling risky today. Yeah, I figured I would just, do something a little bit different. I feel like I've worn like a plain black hat for too long. So I wore the Bridges hat last week, wear the original 1994 PlayStation 1994 hat today. The boss, you're saying your podcast is too long. Shorter podcasts, please. Well, honestly, I don't really time my podcasts. By that, I mean I don't set up a specific guideline. There are obviously going to be podcast episodes that are shorter than others, but there will also be some very long podcast episodes as well. It really depends on how much I can continue to talk and how much I really have to say per episode. So, today is Easter Sunday, and I do have some plans. So I doubt, well, I can confirm this is not going to be a 4-hour episode, but it will still be a pretty relatively long episode nonetheless. So, guys, do me a big favor. I'm going to tell everybody, the usual ways you can help support me, ways you can help support the channel. You just being here, viewing the content helps tremendously. Those of you who watch the videos or watch the podcasts, when the podcasts are no longer live, watching the ads obviously helps. So I really appreciate when you do that. You can hit the like button to help the podcast, to help the content. The reason why I ask for likes is because it helps with YouTube's algorithm and it helps put my content in front of new faces and new eyes, and we can continue to grow the awesome community we have here. So please consider doing that. And other ways you can help support the podcast as well as the channel directly, you can donate a super chat. I rely on that each week with the podcasts or anytime I do a live stream. It really helps support the channel directly, allows me to continue to do what I do here on a weekly basis. So I appreciate everybody for doing that. And you can also become a channel member. I have 3 different channel member tiers, and that's just a way for you to help directly support me each month. So those are some of the ways you can help support the show, Press X Podcast, and support my channel. And I really appreciate the support you guys continue to show me here. I couldn't do what I do without you. But with that being said, I do want to give a quick rundown of some of the topics that we're going to discuss today. And, first off, I will say Sony has been very, very quiet. In fact, I will say that PlayStation has been completely silent ever since they made their PlayStation Extra and PlayStation Premium announcement. And I think the reason why that's a little bit surprising is because there were quite a few rumors, and there still are a lot of different rumors circulating that, PlayStation was going to do this. PlayStation was going to talk about PSVR 2. They were going to have another state of play. They were going to have a showcase, something along those lines. And, we're a little over the halfway point of the month, and, nothing has happened. And by that, I mean nothing official. Obviously, some things have happened, which is what we're going to talk about today. There are some interesting topics to delve into, but I find that interesting because it seems that Sony may once again be doing that thing that they do from time to time where they kind of just go radio silent, and we have no idea when exactly they're going to come back out. But with that being said, one of the topics we are going to talk about is God of War Ragnarok, more specifically how there seems to be some teasing and some hyping and possibly some evidence that not only is God of War Ragnarok wrapping up development, and it may be in the final stages of development to a point where we may end up, playing this game in just a few months potentially, but there is a possibility, based off of what we're hearing and seeing, that Sony may be getting ready to talk about this game, maybe show it off in a state of play in, I want to say the coming weeks, but I feel like we've been saying that. So I'm just going to say soon, the word that everybody always loves to hear, soon. And that's something we're going to talk about today. That's a topic I definitely want to dive into. Something that some people were bringing up, and I don't know how deep I'm going to get into it, but some people were mentioning that original God of War creator David Jaffe, he has kind of been going back and forth a little bit with some people, or catching some flack for saying that he believes God of War Ragnarok looks more like DLC to him and not necessarily like a full-blown game. And I haven't really been following this too much, but I know some of you have been asking me to kind of give my thoughts on that and give my opinion on it. And, I'll mention that as well. So yeah, God of War Ragnarok is going to be a pretty significant topic. We're obviously going to talk about some of the rumors that have transpired over the past 2 weeks. The most recent was something that, I gotta be honest, I don't really understand why I am personally getting so much flack for this. It's pretty weird. I mean, I get, if I had to guess, I think it's because I just make it known that I'm a big fan of Kojima Productions and a big fan of Hideo Kojima. And I think that alone makes it so that people just, if there are rumors like what we had happen this past week, there were rumors circulating that maybe Sony acquired Kojima Productions. And it's like, I don't know what people expect me to say, when this is something that's being discussed, as somebody who is obviously a pretty big fan of Kojima and Kojima Productions. I mean, of course I'm going to get excited at the prospect of my preferred platform holder that I, play on and invest my time and money into. Of course I'm going to get excited at the prospect of, oh, that'd be great if they acquire them. But we had a pretty interesting situation happen where there was a lot of speculation going on. And I admit, like, it definitely got a little it got out of hand. Some people were, I think, jumping to certain conclusions. Some people were just being hopeful. Some people were just being completely pessimistic. You get the whole gamut of, of opinions, certainly when you're on the internet. But it seems like Kojima attempted to clear things up. So I want to talk about that as well. And on top of that, we're continuing to hear that there is apparently a big acquisition. This is what we continue to hear. And what I've noticed is that quite a few people are getting seemingly tired of talking about the acquisitions and the acquisition rumors. And I actually completely get it. I feel this way as well. I mean, it is my job to cover this. It is my job to, if there's a, follow up to a rumor or we hear something from a potentially credible source, I'm going to let you guys know about it. I'm not going to not talk about it just because, oh, well, some people might not want to hear it. That's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is making sure people are aware of what's going on and what's being said. So with that being said, I'm not going to talk about it too much over the course of this podcast, but there just is maybe one aspect to it that I want to kind of highlight and talk about. So we'll mention that as well. Something else we're going to be talking about is the conversation about PlayStation Plus and how apparently, according to one developer, the deal that they struck with Sony for PlayStation Plus was devastating. And, you see these headlines, and a lot of people read headlines. They don't read the content. They don't actually get the context. They remain ignorant to it, and they jump to certain conclusions. And these conclusions that they jump to are, well, damn, I guess any developer who's making a deal with Sony for PlayStation Plus is just getting screwed over. But that's not really the situation here. We're going to dive deeper into that and talk about why that's not actually the situation. And I think anybody who read into it, they understand that, yeah, these headlines are definitely not painting the full picture here. So we'll talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about PSVR 2 because something that I actually failed to cover this week, but we can certainly cover in today's podcast, is the fact, well, it's not a fact, but the second rumor now that has popped up that claims that Sony has delayed PlayStation VR 2 into early 2023, and they are now shooting for an early 2023 release. So we'll definitely talk about that. Something else I want to talk about, two other topics. We got actually, believe it or not, we got quite a bit to dive into. We need to talk about Pedro Pascal and how people are not happy, seemingly. They're not happy with what he recently said. Pedro Pascal came out and revealed that he did not actually play The Last of Us to prepare for his role as Joel in the upcoming Last of Us HBO series. And that we'll talk about that because I think some people are being a little bit, I mean, it's a tough one because I can see it both ways. I understand why people are like, are you kidding me? You didn't play The Last of Us? But I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. So we'll discuss that. We're going to talk about Xbox a little bit because I do think this will be relevant to PlayStation. Apparently, Xbox is looking to work with advertisers to try to bring more ads into free-to-play games in different ways. And this was something that, I mean, oh my God, it's one of these topics where you come out here and you want to evaluate something with, a fair and even calm state of mind and just kind of take it for what it is. But you can't do that because people are screaming. You have people on one side screaming that Xbox is the worst thing ever, literally the worst thing ever, and Xbox absolutely sucks for doing this, and they should go away forever for doing this. And then you have people on the other side that are actively trying to seemingly defend this and find ways to silence the other side. And it just goes back and forth. And it's extremely annoying because it's like everybody sounds pretty dumb. Like they kind of like everybody sounds dumb. This is not new. Like this is not new. And I don't know why people are pretending like this is new. Now, that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be criticism towards Xbox. There absolutely should, because this could go south very quickly. And obviously, nobody wants to hear more ads, but holy hell, man. Like, people I saw somebody on Twitter pull up a patent, a 10-year-old patent from Sony, where they say, look, Sony patented this 10 years ago, so it's not actually Microsoft's fault. And it's just like, what? Are you serious, dude? Like this is where you cannot listen to morons, man, because this is what they do. They will do anything. They will go to any length to avoid any potential criticism. Now, yes, of course, Sony has had some games with advertisements in it. Microsoft has as well. Pretty much every major game publisher has had games with in-game ads. I see somebody mentioning Death Stranding with Monster Energy. Of course, dude, go play, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was, Quantum Break? I think Quantum Break had a few billboard ads in it or whatever. I think, like, Splinter Cell had Axe, like the body spray, billboard ads. It's like, guys, this is not new. It's literally always been a thing. But these people get so desperate. Like, they're like, no. Xbox can't be criticized. No, this is Sony's fault. This is Sony's fault because that 10-year-old patent. Like, dude, that's not relevant to the conversation right now, man. Like, that's not relevant at all to this conversation. And it's just pathetic. And it's sad because this is what I mean is you can't have like a normal conversation with these people. It's all about my brand that I prefer is perfection and there are no criticisms. And that doesn't just work for Xbox. That works for PlayStation as well. There are PlayStation fans where Sony could do the dumbest thing ever. And they're just like, that's great. Keep doing your thing, Sony. And it's like, no, like, let's not do that. All right. But yeah, sorry. I'm trying to explain that this is one of the topics I'm going to talk about. And I end up just going on a rant. But yeah, I definitely got something to say about that because it's something that I do think is going to become prevalent. No matter what people think. Like, I think for both Microsoft and PlayStation, I think that having more in-game ads for free-to-play games is absolutely going to be a thing. Like, I don't know how anybody could look at Microsoft doing this, and if Microsoft succeeds in doing this, you would be a fool to think Sony's not also going to do it. They absolutely will. So we'll dive deeper into that because there is more to be said. I mean, at this point, I should probably just cover that topic first. And we'll just do that. So I want to read you this article here from Engadget where it says, Microsoft reportedly wants to sell ad space in free-to-play Xbox games, and they say you might not be thrilled with in-game advertising, but you might soon see more of it. Insider sources claim that Microsoft is developing a program to help marketers place ads in free-to-play Xbox games. Companies could buy from an ad inventory to secure space on virtual billboards. It's not clear if this would extend to character skins or video roles, but Microsoft is apparently crafting a private marketplace to limit ads to brands that won't disrupt gameplay. So, to me, this right here is the big question mark. They don't know if this advertising thing that they're trying to set up, they are not sure if that's going to extend to skins and video roles, because there is a big difference, in my opinion, between just seeing a random ad on a random billboard in the middle of your game world that you're probably not even paying attention to, and then having to watch an ad roll itself while playing your game or something like that. There is a very big difference there. The article continues by saying Microsoft is reportedly still pinpointing ad technology firms that would build the catalog and cooperate on placement. The debut might not take long, though, as the program could launch by the third quarter, that is, this summer. The company declined to confirm or deny the plans in a statement to Insider. A spokesperson said Microsoft was constantly striving to improve the experience for developers and players, but didn't have anything further to share. The program could rankle gamers worried about ads for real-world products finding their way into fictional universes. However, the focus on free-to-play titles might prove crucial. This could help developers make money from free-to-play games without leaning too heavily on paid content like skins and season passes. That in turn might persuade creators to create more Xbox-centric games rather than building for PlayStation or Switch. So I feel like that last statement there by the article writer here is, I feel like that's certainly a bit of a stretch. Like, I don't think that if Microsoft succeeds in this endeavor, I don't think that means suddenly developers are going to be like, well, now we're just going to go develop for Xbox. No, but this is where I do want to point out to people, like, I know it sounds crazy, but there could be a upside to this. Like, there actually could be a good thing that comes from this. I'm not saying that I'm assuming that that's what's going to happen, but if Microsoft pursues this and, they kind of, I don't know, they entice developers and developers are like, well, this is pretty good. Like, this is a good way for us to make revenue and money. I don't know. To me, that seems a bit naive now that I'm thinking about it. This idea that developers are going to be like, you know what? We're making more than enough money off of these ads, so we're going to stop making so many microtransactions. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And anybody who thinks that, I think, is being extremely naive. If this program succeeds, it means that developers are now, of free-to-play games, are now going to have a whole, different revenue stream that they can pull from. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but it really depends on how it's implemented. I mean, I don't play many free-to-play games, but I don't know that I would feel that upset. Again, if it's like just a billboard or something, like, whatever, I don't care. Put whatever ads you want on your billboards in game. That's fine. But I don't know. I would feel a little bit different if it's like, well, here's a free to play game, and it's filled to the brim with microtransactions, and these microtransactions are being bought constantly, and it's like Fortnite, for example. I mean, does Fortnite really need ads? Does it? Even if it's not Fortnite, just another one of these AAA, bigger free-to-play games, do they really need ads in them? Like, they're not making enough money as it is? I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Well, I do. I mean, it comes down to greed, but I just kind of feel like I'm going to be real right now. Like, putting patents aside, all right, I want to make it known. As far as I'm aware, and chat, please tell me if I'm wrong about this. As far as I'm aware, Sony, putting all the patents aside, as of right now, if you download a free-to-play game on the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 5, there are not ads in-game. There are no ad rolls. There are no billboards. They haven't done this. Somebody says I'm wrong. Somebody's screaming in the chat that I'm wrong. Well, that's why I'm asking. If I'm wrong, please tell me where I may be wrong. Because again, I don't play free-to-play games. But I'm waiting to see. No ads in PS games, maybe product placement. There's no games with ads on any platforms, MBG. Wasn't there, I thought in like NBA 2K, wasn't there like, didn't they actually have like mid-roll ads at one point and they were like, you know what, we're going to get rid of this. I don't remember. Well, I'm just saying this because you know how a lot of PlayStation fans, they blame Microsoft for having to pay each year for online? You know, like people blame Microsoft because they're like, you started this, Microsoft. Like, and it's true. It's a fact, man. Like, I'm not saying this to hate on Microsoft. It's just a fact. Microsoft started with paid online. Not Sony, not Nintendo, Microsoft. And eventually Sony was like, well, damn, if they're doing it, why don't we? We're leaving money on the table. And from a business perspective, I'm not saying as a consumer I like it. I can't stand it. But from a business perspective, you can't blame Sony for copying. And now even Nintendo, to a certain extent, is getting involved. And it's just like, we're going to see the same thing happen. And that's why I am going to yell at Microsoft for this. Because I'll tell you what right now, if it was Sony coming out here, being like, we're starting an ad program, yeah, I'm going to yell at them too. Because it's like, why can't we just keep things the fucking way they are? Why is it always got to be like, well, now we need to extract even more money? Like, why? I guess microtransactions aren't enough. I get that the games are free to play, but at what point is it like, can we just stop? I'm not trying to make it into a bigger deal than it is, but the reality of this situation, it's as simple as this. If Microsoft does this and they succeed, Sony will follow. Simple as that. So, all these Xbox dudes who are throwing up fucking 10-year-old patents, take that energy and direct it towards Microsoft. And hopefully they'll listen to you and they will stop this and not do it. This is what it comes down to, man. I'm tired of these fucking people constantly showing up in my fucking streams, in my fucking videos, on my fucking Twitter feed, bitching at me because, well, you don't care, dude. You'll let Sony just take all the money from your wallet and Sony will just be as anti-consumer as they want. And then when shit like this goes down, they're still trying to talk about Sony. Like, take your shit and put it where it belongs. This is where I do get fed up and I do get pissed off because it's like, you guys are spending all this time flexing Game Pass, the best deal in gaming. The best this, the best that. Microsoft is my best friend and we hold hands and we go for walks and they tell me how much they love and care about me. But then when the Microsoft comes out here and they turn around and be like, yeah, we want to start that ad program for free-to-play games, they're like, that's Sony's fault. Like, just go and direct that energy towards Microsoft because if you have any chance of stopping this, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to stop it by letting them know, just like I made it clear. I'm not saying it's just me alone, because it definitely isn't. But just like I made it clear to Sony, hey, Sony, that bullshit you're pulling with GT7, knock it off. Sort it out, because this is not cool, and this is not going to fly. Do the same thing. Stop it before it becomes a thing. And I'm actually asking Xbox fans to do this, because I don't want Sony to copy this. Sony will copy this, okay? There's a reason why Sony made these patents. Microsoft is going to be the one to have the balls to do it first, though. And I get, like, again, I understand that it's like, well, maybe there's a good side to this, MBG. Maybe this can work out in a good way. Developers can make more money off their free-to-play games. Yeah, but dude, like, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop. Just the crippling amount of microtransactions being shoved down our throats in free-to-play games. And I want to make this known. I do not care about microtransactions in free-to-play games that don't affect gameplay. Go ahead, sell me 100 different skins. There's going to be somebody out there who wants to buy 50 of those skins. It may not be me, but they're out there, clearly. But this is where it's like, well, how do we find a way to make money off of people like me who I don't want to buy microtransactions. I mean, if it's a free-to-play game, maybe I'll buy a couple here, a couple there. That's fine. But, like, that's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, rather than blaming Sony, just redirect the energy to Microsoft, because if it was Sony coming out here and there was a report that Sony's planning on doing more in-game ads and they're trying to set up this thing, I'd be like, Sony, please don't. Please, like, just leave it be, man. We already got enough of that. And I say this because Sony's also going to be making free-to-play games. with their live service. Sony's going to be making free-to-play games, and I don't want to see ads. I don't want to see ads, man, in the games I'm playing, because we don't have ads now. It's good the way it is. We don't need it. We don't need it. As if the NFTs and that bullshit, we're going to talk about that too, as if that wasn't enough. As if that wasn't enough, now we got to do this. Man. I don't know. I guess that's all it comes down to. Putting the rant aside, it just comes down to, I think things are okay the way they are now. And I'm just not an advocate for let's do more. Let's add more into the game. I don't think we need to do that. I think microtransactions are more than enough. Now we see developers wanting to get involved in NFTs. I mean, geez. I want to say I don't normally apologize for my rants, but it is a holiday. It's Easter Sunday, so it feels a little bit inappropriate. Not inappropriate, but I don't know. It feels just a little bit strange to be ranting so aggressively and swearing up and down on a holiday like this. So I apologize. Ernest, you're saying off topic, won't happen, but I want a state of play style presentation about retro games they'll be adding to the new service before it's live. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, there's no way Sony's going to dedicate a state of play to their older games. I mean, they could, but I want to say there's a 99% chance they won't. But that would be pretty cool, man. I think it actually would be great advertising for their service, but you know how it would go down, man. If Sony were to do that, there would be a lot of people who would be yelling at Sony for doing that, because it just wouldn't be good enough. It wouldn't be what they were expecting. So, Reyes, you're saying Xbox needs better games, not ads. I mean, yeah, it's being pretty simple and to the point there. Figuratively literal, you're saying this is not entirely relevant, but I remember Jak 2 and Ratchet & Clank 2 had billboard ads for their respective games just as fun references, but this could be the Oblivion DLC moment for ads. I'm not familiar with the Oblivion DLC moment you're referring to, but yeah, like that's the thing here that I just want to kind of point out is people have been bringing up all of these images, horse armor DLC. Oh, maybe I'll have to look into that. I'm not familiar with this. The infamous horse armor. It sounds pretty funny. But a lot of people I saw were throwing up images from other games. Were like, guys, this isn't anything new. And it's like, yeah, it's not new. It's not new. Like, I'm not going to have a conniption if I buy a full-priced game and if I'm in an open world and there's just like a random billboard advertising. I was going to say Applebee's, but I got to admit, that would be pretty off-putting. Like, why the F is there an Applebee's billboard in this game? Something I guess like, it's like what Death Stranding did with Monster Energy. Like, that's not that bad to me. Like, okay, he's drinking Monster Energy. It kind of makes sense. It like fits within the world. This dude is walking cross country, trekking over treacherous land. He's going to need some Monster Energy. He's going to need some energy drinks. All right, that's fine. That makes sense. But that's not that big of a deal. And it's like if I see an ad for like I don't know, like Verizon or something in an open world game on a billboard, like, okay, whatever. Who cares? But I'm just afraid that that's not going to be enough. And I think I have a good reason to be afraid, because what have we seen in this industry? What have we seen from publishers, from developers, from anybody, really? We've seen that you give them an inch, they'll take a damn mile. They do it every time. And it's because they know that there are people too busy bickering in the comment sections back and forth, trying to defend something that shouldn't be defended, or trying to protect something that shouldn't be protected, and they end up getting away with it, and it just becomes the new norm. And this is where people need to kind of concentrate their focus somewhat and be like, look, I turn to an Xbox player and I say, I would prefer less ads in my games. You agree? No? And the answer from that Xbox fan should be, I do agree. So let's just collectively say, Microsoft, please don't do this. Do something else. Raise the price of Game Pass or something. I don't know. They're going to do that anyway. I make it sound like they're not going to raise the price of Game Pass. They absolutely will raise the price of Game Pass, but I don't know. You're saying, but man, YouTubers win with ads. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Like, I know, I understand, but the thing is, I'm not selling like copious amounts of microtransactions. I know that people view like, oh, super chats are microtransactions. It's like, okay, I guess, sure. You kind of got me there. Like, I don't know, but are they really? Like, it's not like I have, how in the industry they're like whales. It's not like I'm like, hey guys, every week I got a couple dudes coming in, dropping 5. I mean, I wouldn't complain, don't get me wrong, but it's not like I got guys coming in here being like, yo, here's $500 super chat here, 500 super chat there, where it's like, yo, I'm raking it in like I got a successful free-to-play game here with multiple whales. I mean, come on, that's not the position I'm in. I'm just a regular dude here, doing what I can. And I'm not, I'm not constantly asking people for things. I'm just reminding them. And I think it's a little bit different. I do. Like, I'm not a corporation. I'm not a company. I'm not a developer with a development team where I have all this funding and all this money and all these different opportunities, where I'm just saying that this could be good for some developers. But I'm going to say for most publishers that have these free-to-play games, it's going to be just another way for them to squeeze more money out of people, as if they're not already getting enough, and it's just, I can't sit here and be like, yeah, I can't sit here and put faith in these companies and in these corporations to not do that. Like, Sony is not innocent of, they're going to be guilty as well. Like, dude, if Sony joins in on this, they're going to have a shit ton of ads in their free-to-play games. And I'm just thinking, as of right now, that's not a thing. I'm sure Sony will make more than enough money if when they release their free-to-play Twisted Metal, maybe next year. It's going to be free-to-play. It's going to have a ton of microtransactions. And that's okay. Like, that's how they're going to make their money on this game, so we can play it for free. I'm pretty sure they're going to do just fine with the microtransactions. I'm pretty sure they're going to do just fine. I see somebody say, you're not a game, LOL. I mean, yeah, I could put it that simply. I'm not a video game. I'm a content creator. But that's the thing, man, is like, I'm pretty confident that they're going to make more than enough money on their microtransactions. And I also feel confident in saying, I don't think they're going to need ads in their game. That's all. That's all it comes down to, But I want to view this from a different angle before I move on to the next topic. Is MBG's not a game, confirmed. Yeah. I want to talk about this from a different angle, that angle being from the perspective of Microsoft. Now, let's be real right now. I highly doubt Microsoft is doing this for money. And I know that sounds strange because it's like, well, didn't you just say that that's what this is about? It's about greed. Well, from Microsoft's perspective, money is not a thing, okay? Like, Microsoft, as far as I'm concerned, Microsoft has infinite amount of money, and they know this. This is more of a play to get people interested in their platform. So you kind of have to view it like that. And that's where it's like, okay, I begin to understand more why Microsoft would want to push for this, because if they can successfully do this, it is going to look very enticing to developers and publishers, and Microsoft can basically turn to them and say, we can create a new revenue stream for you. We'll take a cut of that, of course, but you'll get a cut as well. And that, this article I read made it sound like developers are going to, choose to maybe stop making games for Nintendo and PlayStation because they can go make more money with Xbox. I doubt that's going to happen, but I just want to point that out as well. I'm well aware that there are multiple angles to this, but my personal feelings on it from a consumer perspective is I would just prefer not to see more ads in games. It's as simple as that. If what would be interesting, I want to ask this one question before I move on to the next topic. How would you guys feel if there was a free to play game where there were 0 microtransactions? It's free to play, but what makes it free to play is there are ads, like egregious ads. I'm talking like YouTube ad rolls, like type ads in between like rounds of a game you're playing. Would you prefer that over microtransactions? I'm that's a genuine question. I'm just curious what people would think. Like maybe there would be some people saying that sounds like a mobile game. It does. Yeah, it does sound like a mobile game. I don't play mobile games. Is that a thing that they do now? Damn. But I bet you those mobile games are stuffed full of microtransactions still. It's actually, I see it's a little bit torn. Some people are saying yes. I see a lot of people saying no. See, that's the thing here. I tell you guys all the time, I don't think full price games should have microtransactions, but I know they're going to. But when it comes to free to play games specifically, I do think we're going to see more and more free to play games in the future. I do. I think to an extent, free to play games are kind of the future. Not entirely. Like there will always be paid games, but I think we're going to see more and more. I'm totally okay with microtransactions that don't affect gameplay. Like the way Fortnite does it, I honestly think is really good. Like it works really well. People can just if you want to go play a game like Fortnite or I'm pretty sure Destiny's the same way as well. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong about Destiny or Fortnite. But I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, where if you are somebody who wants to go play these games, you just download them, you can play them. And at no point will anybody else interfere with you, like those who are buying microtransactions. Like you not buying microtransactions will essentially have no impact on your game. I don't know if I'm wrong about that with Destiny, but saying Destiny is a weird one. You need DLC for Destiny? Wait, you're saying Destiny isn't free to play? I could have swore that went free to play. Am I wrong about that? Like when I checked the free to play section on PS5, it says Destiny 2 is there. Unless you mean like they do have like to get all of the content, like if they have DLC packs. The main story of Destiny is free. Oh, okay. There are expansions. Okay. That makes sense. I think that's fair. I think expansions are fair. Paid expansions, that's fine. How about Rocket League? Yeah, I guess Rocket League is a good example, right? Kind of forgot about that game. I'm just basically saying, like, look, if you are playing a free-to-play game and you can have access to all the actual, like, gameplay content, and you don't have to pay anything, like, they're not asking you to pay anything, the game's just there to play, but they have just a bunch of cosmetic stuff that's just to make your character look cool, to make you feel cool, whatever. It has no impact on gameplay. I think that's perfect. Like, I honestly think that is a perfect balance for free-to-play games, and I don't think it has to go any further than that. I don't. And I think, like, paid expansions are fine, too, to an extent. I think it just depends on the type of game. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I want to move on to the next topic here. Let me see. What is the next? Okay, so yeah, we could talk about the whole Kojima thing that happened briefly because that was a weird situation, man. That was a weird situation, and people were behaving equally as weird. Let me bring something up here. Yeah, so just to make sure I have my stuff straight here, because I was like originally, I wasn't confused about it, but I'll put it to you this way. I did believe that people were running with it too much. So essentially what happened is Sony changed the banner on their PlayStation Studios website. And that is not strange at all. Like, it's not strange that, oh my God, Sony updated their banner. No. The thing that people paid attention to was Kojima's Death Stranding was added to the end of the banner. And it replaced a first-party game. The game that it replaced was Concrete Genie. Concrete Genie was made by Pixel Opus, a first-party PlayStation studio. And so what happened after that is people began to speculate that is this a sign that Sony has brought Kojima Productions on board as a first-party studio? And at first you think that sounds completely ridiculous. And you look closer at the banner and you realize, okay, Death Stranding is the only video game on this banner, which features 12 to 15 games on it. It's the only video game on this banner that features a studio that is not owned by PlayStation Studios, that is not a part of PlayStation Studios. Now, I did explain to people, as well as many others, that, well, Sony owns the Death Stranding IP. Sony owns that. So the idea that they would want to use that in their marketing is not strange. But still, some people were like, I don't know. On March 31st, Kojima announced on Twitter abruptly that he's moving his studio. He's leaving his studio and going somewhere else to an undisclosed location. And people were kind of confused. They're like, where are you going? It is a pretty big deal for Kojima Productions to relocate. And I think they're purposely not telling us where they're relocating, because I'm pretty sure it would... You're saying, dude, remember your Just the Facts tweet? Yeah, and dude, that tweet pissed people off. And this is where I'm saying, people need to fucking stop being bitches about stuff all the time, man. Really, my tweet telling you that here are 2 facts, just cold hard facts. On March 31st, Kojima leaves his studio and relocates to an undisclosed location. And then fact number 2, 2 weeks later, Sony updates their banner to suddenly include Death Stranding 2 years after the game launched. And people are like, you're wrong, MBG. You better stop right now. Dude, please go, just get off, man. Get offline and just relax. It's not that fucking serious, I mean, I'm not one to usually say stuff like this, but holy shit, facts do not care about your feelings. And it doesn't matter how upset you get. Sean says you were wrong. How can I be wrong by stating 2 facts? See, the thing is, people are implying, they're taking from those facts and making their own assumptions. Not me. I did not say in that tweet, Kojima acquired confirmed. Of course, I was alluding to it. Of course, but why? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with taking 2 facts, putting them together to think, well, maybe it could add to something? But it's holy hell, man, people are coming out here and be like, shut your damn mouth, MBJ. Dude, I gotta admit, it's kind of entertaining. I sometimes have to disconnect because I'm like, oh, yo, I'm getting too engrossed in this bullshit. But it is funny, man. It is funny to see how upset, it's funny, but it's also surprising. I sometimes do get kind of surprised where I'm like, dude, why are so many people getting this upset over something so trivial that I said? And that's the important thing, is it's so fucking trivial, dude. I mean, I'm not even trying to go after anybody. I'm not even trying to upset people. And people are out here crying rivers and shit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm not trying to upset people. I'm just going to go. It's crazy, dude. Entertaining, but still crazy. Crazy entertainment. PlayStation Pete, you're saying, Happy Easter, MBG. Horizon 82% platinum. What if Metal Gear Silent Hill remakes end up in game trials and Last of Us Online is only accessed through PlayStation Premium? Would you upgrade? That's very interesting you say that, PlayStation Pete. That's a very, very specific and very interesting very interesting question, PlayStation Pete. I don't know, PlayStation Pete. I think I'm on to you. I think I'm on to you here. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down, PlayStation Pete. No, in all seriousness, absolutely, that would be huge. That would be huge. If Sony were to come out here and be like, yo, we got some game trials we're about to drop. We got some Metal Gear remake. We got some Silent Hill remake. And you want to access all of our live service games? We'll have them bundled in PlayStation Premium. Absolutely, dude. I think people would flock to that. It would. I think PlayStation Premium would explode. Hell yeah, I'd subscribe to it. And I'm saying that as somebody who, as of right now, based off of what we know, I don't have any interest in it. So somebody mentions The Last of Us Online or games like Twisted Metal, they will be free to play. You are right. And that's the thing is, I don't think Sony wouldn't put free to play games. I don't believe in, it just wouldn't make sense to, lock them behind a subscription service. Unless Sony changes their, how they do it right now. I mean, Sony makes it so that if you want to play free to play games, you do not, as far as I'm aware, you don't have to be subscribed to PlayStation Plus. Sony could change that with their own free to play games where they're like, yeah, you're going to need to be subscribed to PlayStation Plus. That would suck. That would suck ass, but I could maybe see them doing that. If you're talking about if you're talking about a situation where it's like you can buy this game for $40 or maybe even, I don't know. Yeah, maybe $40. Like if they come out with a multiplayer game where it's like you can buy this game for $40 or you can just subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium and you'll have access to it. If that game is a live service multiplayer only game, although I don't know, a multiplayer only game for $40, I don't know if people, I think it depends on what game it is. Like if Sony comes out with a multiplayer only SOCOM and it's $40, I'd be okay with that. I'd pay for that. $40, that's not too bad. But I could see them doing something like that. But if it's a free-to-play game, I don't think that they'll put that in PlayStation Plus Premium. So yeah, I by the way, PlayStation Pete, I also did get the Platinum in Horizon, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Luca, you're saying, do you remember when MBG was too shy to show his face? Yeah, we've come a long way, man. We've come a long way. I'm glad you remember those days. I think it's a pretty normal ramp up to things. Some people are totally confident and cool in the beginning. It's not that I lacked confidence in the beginning. I just didn't think it mattered. And once I did show my face and I saw people really enjoyed that, and then I started coming, on camera with my podcasts, the engagement ramped up. And it's like, oh, people, they like that personal touch. I still don't go on camera for most of my videos because I just don't. I don't know. I don't find it necessary. I mean, I guess maybe I could, but I think it's just a different type of content. Like if I'm doing news content, I don't know that I need to be on camera, but maybe I should do that more often. Maybe that would help. It helped my podcast. So, but Fabrice, Paul, thank you so much, man. You're saying, MBG, why do you talk about the bad leak from Xbox and not the good, like the family plan for Game Pass? For me, an Xbox player that likes your channel, it's not a good look. I don't like what Xbox is doing. I will make them know. Well, you know what? You are right, Fabrice. I don't mean to do that. When I do that, well, for example, today, the reason why I talked about the Xbox ad space thing is because to me, that is something that I feel like is going to have a profound effect on the PlayStation platform. And so essentially what I'm trying to request is and I'm glad you're mentioning this because clearly you are an Xbox fan and you are not for it. And I have to imagine there are quite a few Xbox fans that are in the same boat as you where they're not for it as well. And I just think as it like considering this is something that can affect our platform, I'm just kind of encouraging Xbox fans and PlayStation fans, like, let's push back against this. And that's not to say that the Xbox Family Plan isn't a good thing, the Xbox Game Pass Family Plan. I actually think that's really interesting. And that could be, now that I'm thinking about it, that also could be something that Sony would want to look into. The idea of a family plan for Game Pass makes a lot of sense. And I think there's a shit ton of people who would actually subscribe to that and feel like that is an even better value. And maybe that is something that it will affect Sony. That is something that a good thing that Xbox could do, as you're saying here. I agree that if Xbox rolls out this family plan and they see like some kind of substantial growth, Sony might be like, oh, maybe we should offer our own, PlayStation Plus family plan. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, why don't they? Yeah, Sony should copy that. That would be great. So I do apologize for that. It's not that I'm actively ignoring these topics. It's just that there are just some things that stick out to me more, and this ad thing with Xbox definitely stuck out more. But, Sony copies some of the bad things that Microsoft does, but they also copy some of the good things. And this is what these they kind of do this ping pong like thing back and forth with each other. And so I hope they do that. I hope both Sony and Microsoft end up bringing out family plans and kind of like bundle services. That's something that I think Sony should try to look into more. Something that Xbox has been doing a pretty good job with Game Pass is finding ways to like bring on like other services, excuse me, and like, again, make this kind of like bundle package or offer certain benefits. Sony hasn't really done this with PlayStation Plus, and I think it would be in their best interest to maybe take some notes what Microsoft is doing with PlayStation Plus Extra and PlayStation Plus Premium and try to sweeten the deal, I guess you could say, for PlayStation Plus for fans. I think that would just be a really good thing to do. I don't think anybody would be opposed to that, anybody who's interested. So thank you for that super chat, Fabrice. Getting back to the Kojima thing here. It's hard for me not to rant about this stuff because, my God, man, the shit that people say. But look, I do not blame people for thinking, look, guys, they changed the banner and they put a PlayStation game on there. Yeah, it's a little bit abrupt. Yeah, it's not made by a first-party studio, but let's not jump to conclusions here. All right, let's not just assume that Kojima has been purchased. And I understand why some people look at what some others say, other people say, where there are people who straight up say Kojima confirmed. Now, there's not many, but there are people who say that. And I don't blame anybody for kind of looking at those individuals and be like, well, come on, man. Like, you don't think you're maybe jumping to conclusions here? They are. However, and this is where I don't understand. Like, I do understand. I got to stop saying that. I have to stop saying that I don't understand because I do understand. There was another situation that occurred. Apparently, I was sleeping when it happened because I saw people were tagging me and they're like, why is MVG asleep for this? And it would have been really funny if I was awake for it. Who knows what I would have said or how I would have reacted in that moment. But Kojima, Hideo Kojima, the master troll here. I mean, come on. Am I supposed to believe this man does not see Konami, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, Kojima Productions, PlayStation Studios, all trending in the last 48 damn hours? I'm supposed to believe he doesn't see this? Of course he sees it. So you know what he does? He posts a tweet that is just the banner, the newly updated banner with Death Stranding. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't say anything. You could say he was silent. He was silent. And this is what he posted. And my God, when he did that, the floodgates burst open, man. The dam busted. And I do not blame a single soul on this planet for thinking that he was teasing a potential acquisition. Because How could you not read it that way? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, even the most skeptical people, I'm telling you, the reason why so many people came out of the woodwork to be like, we told you, Sony isn't acquiring shit. Sony is not acquiring Kojima Productions because they were scared, dude. They were nervous. They were shaking in their boots because they're like, oh my God, Kojima's posting this. Oh man, did they actually acquire them? And the reason why it was so funny is because Kojima did that, like, literally right after we got more reports that he's making an Xbox game. And it was just the funniest shit because, dude, Xbox fans, they're bipolar with Kojima. I don't know what they want. Death Stranding sucked. Kojima's overrated. And I can't wait to play his Xbox game. Like, what? This is the shit I see. And they get mad at me because I'm like, yo, I hope Sony acquires Kojima because why not? They would work perfectly together. They would make sense. It'd be a good acquisition for Sony, I think. I love Death Stranding. I love Metal Gear. Let's keep it going. You know? And they're like, no, don't you ever say that, MBG. You will suffer and you will be wrong. And I'm just like, whatever, man. But what I'm trying to get at is I thought it was pretty damn funny that all of this happened. Like, Kojima had to come out, 2 hours later, and he said, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to get anybody's hopes up. We're not acquired. We are and always will be independent. That's how he worded it. And a bunch of people are coming out and being like, yo, didn't Blue Point Games literally do the same thing? Didn't Bungie do the same thing? And people are pointing out that Bungie still is independent. They are owned by Sony, but they are independent in the sense that they are free to do whatever they want. They are not locked into anything. They're just owned by Sony. Still think it's a little weird. I'm going to be honest. Like, I still think it's a little bit weird just how much freedom Bungie has. You know, like, I almost wonder, like, could this backfire on Sony in the long run? I mean, if they're giving them complete autonomy, what if Bungie starts doing something that Sony doesn't like? What happens then? You know? Like, Sony owns them, but if it's not in the contract, if it's in the contract that pretty much you can do whatever you want, what's Sony going to do? Like, is Jim Ryan gonna go to pay a visit to Bungie headquarters and be like, we really don't want you to do this, and we want you to change that? And then Bungie's like, well, I appreciate your feedback, but no, I don't think we will. See you, Jim. And it's just, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I think that the way that Sony is handling Bungie is a little bit strange, but to be fair, there's probably a hell of a lot more within those contracts and a hell of a lot more that we don't know about that wasn't disclosed to a certain extent. So, you know, it is weird. You know, I mean, people are basically saying, like, Sony could have bought Kojima in the same fashion, right? Like, Sony could have offered Kojima, like, look, we'll give you a lot of money, like a lot of money, okay? And we just want you to put the PlayStation Studios logo on your stuff, and we just want people to know that we own you, but we don't do anything, like, we don't tell you what to do at all. We can't. It's in our contract. We legally can't tell you what to do. You're, like, technically, you're still completely independent. Like, essentially, it just seems like it's Sony's way of making sure somebody else doesn't get them. You know? It seems like it's Sony's way of making sure that, well, we know we won't lose you. We can't control you, but we know we won't lose you, because maybe Sony sees it as losing them would be worse than having no control over them at all. I don't know. I know that Sony bought Bungie for their expertise in live service games, so there is that. But, you know, it is... Look, I know that people want to go on their dunking spree. I know that they want to do it. All right? I know that they want to be like, dude, Sony didn't buy Kojima. Sony's never going to buy Kojima. Kojima's making an Xbox game, blah, blah, blah. Go cry. Like, I'm not going to cry about that. Like, I don't know why people approach me like that's a bad thing. Like, that's fine. It's cool. It's okay. I'm actually completely okay if Kojima remains independent and makes an Xbox game. Totally cool with that. Like, I'm going to play his game. I like Kojima Productions. Figuratively literal, you're saying, I remember when you were covering the Spider-Man puddle controversy back in the old days. It's been quite a ride, gotta say. Yeah, how ridiculous was that shit, dude? Oh my God, that was a long time ago, actually. Wow, that was a really long time ago. Yeah, it's always something, man. It's always something, isn't it? But thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, that is something we do have to point out. I don't care how much it upsets people. I don't care how redundant you think it is. It's a fact. It's another fact that hurts people's feelings, where Sony leaked the fact that they acquired Blue Point Games. And this is what is fascinating to me. One thing I remember about the Blue Point Games situation is that we learned about Blue Point's acquisition through that leak from Sony months in advance. Not weeks, months in advance. And I remember for that time period, people were always wondering, like, was that an actual leak? Did Sony actually acquire them? And people were not sure. People were like, well, they haven't said anything. It's been a long time. Maybe they really did just screw up. And it's like, no, they did not screw up, man. Like, PlayStation's Japanese Twitter account, on the day that Housemarque was acquired, somebody working there got confused or clicked the wrong image. They clicked the Blue Point Games image that was custom made because they were already acquired, and put that image out instead of the Housemarque image months before the Blue Point Games acquisition was supposed to be announced. So what I find fascinating about this tells me that apparently Sony will sit on acquisitions. Sony will sit on acquisitions, and that is something that I think is worth highlighting, because it means that there could be who knows what studio that Sony has already acquired, that they acquired them maybe a couple months ago for all we know. Or they could be acquiring them now, and we won't learn about it till later this year. That's really fat. I think that is a very telling thing, and it is worth noting. And this is the big thing I wanted to highlight. Everybody after that happened came out, understandably so, and they were like, "Sony, the cat is out of the bag, bro. Just announce. Go ahead, just announce it. You acquired Blue Point. We all know. You literally said it yourself, mistakenly. Just announce it." And Sony was like, "We ain't saying shit." And instead, Blue Point Games updated their Twitter banner and their website to say they are completely independent. They are completely independent. And I want it to be known that Blue Point Games said, we are completely independent, while they were actually owned by Sony. Unless, and this is a single caveat that I have to add here, and it's important because it's a possibility. Astro Cyborg, bro, what are you saying, man? I'm reaching for the sky? I am stating a damn fact, my friend. You guys have to be doing this shit on purpose just to get a rise out of me. And that has to be what you're doing. There's no way. There's no way. Either that or people are genuinely not sure what a fact actually is. Like, that's a real thing that happened, that is accounted for. I'm reaching for the sky, bro. I gotta admit, though, like, I am glad to see stuff like that sometimes, though, because I need that. I need that to help kind of break up the intensity sometime. Anyway, the one caveat I have to add here that I think is very important. The question is as simple as this. Did Sony already own Blue Point Games when they leaked that image accidentally? When Sony released the image of Welcome to the Family Blue Point Games, when it was supposed to be Housemarque, the image was already made. It was a custom-made image. Is it a possibility? Is it a possibility? And I think it could be. We have no way of actually knowing this. Did Sony essentially have somebody make that image while they were in the process of acquiring them and just have the image ready so when Sony gives the green light that, okay, we finished the deal now, you can release that image. Yeah, I think that is a possibility. And I do not want to discount that because, you know, it is one of these things where I mean, I don't know, like, see, this is where, like, I don't have any legal expertise, you know. I'm sure somebody who knows a lot more about the inner workings of this stuff, they would have a better idea. Like, I'm saying that sounds like a possibility, but a lawyer or somebody, or, you know, somebody who's familiar with the stuff, they could turn around and say to me, actually, that's ridiculous. Like, that would never happen. Like, they would never make an image like that or have something like that ready to go if they weren't sure that they were going to get them. I don't know. I mean, I think that is a little bit weird. Like, okay, here's a good example. Remember that image that was made for Bungie, where it is a PlayStation logo, X, Bungie logo? Was that made like 3 months before the actual acquisition? I feel like that's ridiculous. I'm going to tell you why I think that's ridiculous. I'm going to tell you. Why would Sony ever allow something like that to be made, knowing that, do you know how easily that image could leak out? That's something we have to consider here. And it did leak out. That's the thing, man. It did leak out. I don't know. When it comes to acquisitions, man, this stuff is so top tier. Like, very few people actually know what the hell's going on. But that image leaking, that Blue Point Games image leaking, is very interesting. And I think that it maybe gives us potentially a little bit more insight into how these things work and how these things are planned out. So all I'm trying to say is that, dude, come on, bro. Come on. You're going to tell me Kojima I'm just going to tweet this banner because that's all I'm trying to say is I'm happy. What are you trying to say, Kojima? What are you trying to say? I'll tell you what, because whatever it is Kojima was trying to say, nobody got it. Or maybe everybody got it. And that's the problem. Because Kojima had to come out and remind and tell everybody, we're independent. Sony didn't buy us. I mean, I know. You're saying MBG, he's promoting his game. But dude, like, that's the thing, man, is... No, you're wrong. I'm just going to be flat out. You were wrong. When he tweeted that image, he was not promoting his game. He was promoting PlayStation Studios, even if he didn't know it. Even if he didn't know it. Now, Kojima's been in the game long enough to fucking know. That's the point I'm trying to get at here, man. Like, Kojima knew exactly what he's doing, and there are people who are saying, Kojima just did it to troll PlayStation fans. And I gotta admit, that's believable to me. Yeah, if he did that just to troll PlayStation fans, well, mission accomplished. I mean, he could have just tweeted something like, "Nice to see Death Stranding on the banner." He could have tweeted, you know, I mean, literally, he could have said anything that would have went a long way. Like, he could have said, "Hey guys, I'm really happy to see Death Stranding on the banner. We were not acquired." He could have said that. You know? Saying he doesn't need to say anything. No, that's where you're wrong. He did have to say something. He did have to come out and say, "Guys, we're not acquired. We weren't acquired." All right. I don't know. I just think the whole situation's bizarre as hell. I do. I think it's weird as shit, and I don't even know what to make of it. I did say on Twitter, though, and in my video, and I'll stick to this, I'm taking Kojima's word for it. He said that, you know, we weren't bought. We're independent, and I'm just going to believe it. I'm just going to believe it. All right? I'm just going to take his word for it and say, okay, if that's what you say, sure. Leia, you're in my way here. All right. Severin Evans, you're saying... I would much rather see PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo acquire devs and publishers than Google or Amazon, just my humble opinion. No, I agree. I at least trust Xbox enough to where it's like, and PlayStation. This is why I say, like, people always come to me, they're like, dude, weren't you against acquisitions? It's like, look, how can you blame me? Microsoft's like, we're going to buy Bethesda. It's like, whoa. Well, that escalated quickly. Okay. Microsoft just bought Bethesda. All right. And then, like, literally a year later, we're buying Activision Blizzard. Come on. People are going to play dumb. They're going to act dumb. And they're going to make it sound like that's just a totally normal thing that we should have expected. That there's no reason to be a little bit concerned. And this is where people frustrate me, because it's like, no, I had every right to be concerned about Microsoft making acquisitions like that. I had every right to be concerned. And every gamer should be concerned about that. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily like totally Sony should never make an acquisition like that. I will admit, at first I was like, maybe Sony shouldn't. Maybe they should just leave it alone. But the more I thought about it and the more it began to like kind of dawn on me, you know what? This is going to keep happening. This is going to keep happening. And maybe it would be wise of Sony to pick one up themselves if they're able to before it's too late and everybody's gone. That's what I started to realize. So you're saying you were so aggressively against it? Well, because I'm going to be honest, man. Like I was kind of pissed off. I was, because I'm like, this is bullshit, dude. Like this is bullshit. Like Microsoft's just coming out here. They're just going to start buying all these publishers for billions of dollars. It's like, okay, I guess you don't need to make your own games at this point when you can just buy everybody. So yeah, I was pissed off, and I made it clear that like, this is ridiculous to me. And I was like against Microsoft doing this because I thought it was weak. I thought it was weak, man. That's the whole point. I was basically saying like, this is what you got to do to win. This is what you got to do to be relevant. And then people told me, Xbox fans were like, yo, competition is competition. And then I'm hearing from everybody else in the industry that this is what's going to happen. This is the industry. The industry is going to consolidate. And when I took a step back and I'm like, okay, all right, I see how it is. Fine. If this is how it's going to be, then this is how it's going to be. Sony, go ahead. I get like they're going to listen to me. I had to give Sony the green light. But that's the whole thing, is like, that's why I turned around and I did change my tune, because if I'm going to be told that this is the new normal in the gaming industry, I'll be damned. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to tell Sony, you better get in on the ground floor then, man. Go ahead. Go pick up a publisher or two. Why not? Go for it. It's a free-for-all up in here, right? That's how I look at it. So, I don't know. I know that there are still PlayStation fans that think that Sony shouldn't do that. And I'm going to be honest. Like, if Sony never acquires a publisher, I think it'll be okay. I do. Like, I don't think anything's going to happen to PlayStation. I think it'll be okay. And I'm going to be honest. Ever since we heard Microsoft come out here and be like, pretty much most of our games, not all of them, but like Call of Duty and the bigger games that, it sounds like most of their games, they're going to remain multiplat. Ever since they said that, I was kind of like, well, all right, I guess it doesn't matter as much as I thought it did. Like it seems like these bigger acquisitions, but then I don't know, with Microsoft, look at what they did with Bethesda. They bought all of Bethesda, and they made it clear that, yeah, after Ghostwire Tokyo, that's it. You're like, no more, unless we put Game Pass on PlayStation. And that's the kind of stuff that made me nervous, where it's like, well, Jesus, like an entire publisher? Fuck. I understand why Xbox fans would be excited, but surely they should understand why PlayStation fans would be a little bit like, yo, I think people, I don't know, man. I think people try to take this approach where it's like, you're not allowed to feel certain things based off of what's happening. You just have to be like, oh yeah, cool, that's okay. And it's like, no, it's not always like that. Maybe a lot of times people do overreact, for sure, but there are some cases where it's like, it's not an overreaction. It's actually a perfectly rational normal and expected reaction. My cats are literally battling on my bed next to me. I mean, they are full-blown battling right now. It's crazy. I should have just named them Sony and Microsoft. I should have named my cat Sony and Microsoft because they fight. They just battle all the time, dude. It's pretty fun to watch, though. It is. All right. All right, let me get to these super chats. William, you're saying, on your last video, I commented a comprehensive list of all studios they could get. Can you look through it and give your thoughts on each one? Give me a second here. I'll see if I can pull it up. Because I do want to talk about that a little bit more in depth as we go further. Although, I'm going to be honest, man, like, it might be really hard for me to find your comment. Because that video, even though it's not getting, like, a ton of viewership, man, like, people are very interactive in the comment section. Give me 1 second here to bring it up. How long ago did you make the comment? That could actually help me, because I can sort through newest first. Wow. Yeah, this video has a lot of comments. Scrolling, I'm scrolling. I'm still not seeing you, man. Maybe you're at the, I don't know, maybe you're at the top. Maybe I'm doing this the wrong way. Oh, got you. I got it here. Okay. Yeah, that's a long list, dude. All right, so I'll save that for a little bit later. I appreciate you doing that. And thank you for the super chat, by the way. Thermalgenics, you're saying Capcom would be a great acquisition for Sony. I agree. I mean, to me, in my video yesterday, I said I think Capcom would be the best fit. I think about how popular their IP are. I think about how easy it would be to adapt almost all, not all of their IP, but most of their big IP into movies, you know, books, TV shows, the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, it's already there. It's already happening. So I think Capcom would make a lot of sense for Sony. I will say, you know, it would be amazing. I'm gonna be real, dude. Like, I'm just gonna be straight up. It would be nice and I say this as a PlayStation fan, and I know that people are gonna take this as that here comes the PlayStation fanboy. I'm just gonna be true with my feelings here as somebody who I play on PlayStation. I don't play on Xbox right now. I mean, I haven't played on Xbox in a long time, and you know, it's just not my preferred platform. After seeing the acquisitions that Microsoft has made, after seeing them acquire Bethesda, and seeing that conversation and the being strung along where it's like, are they going to be exclusive? Are they not going to be exclusive? Blah blah blah. You know, best deal in gaming. Sony doesn't have it. Whatever, the whole thing. And then seeing the Activision Blizzard thing and how this is going, I would just love for Sony to just announce, we've acquired Capcom and all their games are exclusive. Like, dude, it's not a fanboy thing. It's you see what they fucking started? You see what happens? That's why I would like to see it. Because that's the whole thing here, dude. These Xbox dudes, they constantly want to come out and say, well, that's competition. That's competition. This is what happens when Sony buys third-party exclusives, which Xbox was completely capable of doing, by the way. They were completely capable of doing it. And there were PlayStation fans who were like, I don't know. I don't want Sony to buy a publisher. I don't want to see this. I don't want the industry to consolidate like this. And Xbox is seemingly pushing it along. And then the Xbox guys, they say, you can't be mad. You can't be mad because if it wasn't Microsoft, it would have been Amazon. It would have been Facebook. It would have been Google. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So what you're telling me is that we were screwed either way. And that is why, again, I have to emphasize, this is why I now have the mindset, Sony, go buy a Capcom, go buy a Square Enix, go buy a Konami, and make it known, these games are exclusive now, okay? Unless, we'll put them on our service eventually. And then we'll try to, and then Sony can turn to Microsoft and say, yeah, you can play these games if you let PlayStation Plus on Xbox. I'm just saying, like, this is where it's like, I don't want to see Sony be the fucking nice guy, because they're not the nice guy, man. Like, Sony has never been the nice guy. Sony's not the guy that comes out and says, and that's why the Bungie thing surprises me, because it's like, dude, you know that a lot of PlayStation fans were like, so this means Bungie's next game is going to be a PlayStation exclusive, right? And Sony's like, no. That's Sony being the nice guy, man. And that is strange, because I don't know if is Sony being the nice guy because they're like, Microsoft, come on now. Come on. We'll keep our shit multiplat. I don't know, man. Sony's strategy is so strange, because if Sony acquired Capcom, would they make their games exclusive, or would they leave them multiplat? I mean, I don't get it. I don't, I'm tired of the picking and choosing. I'm tired of the constant back and forth seesaw. You know what I want? I want it like this, clear cut. I feel like I'm a bottom line type of person here. I want it clear cut. Sony, either, and Microsoft as well, when you buy your stuff, either just lock it down, or don't lock any of it down. Because I'm tired of this. Like, it's so weird. Like, I'm sorry, but the Bungie acquisition from Sony is still so weird to me. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is bizarre, dude. Because what does this mean? Like, what are you setting up here? What does this mean for all future purchases? Because if you're like a studio, or certainly a publisher, but if you're like a big studio, I'm going to have to go let my cats out the second. But if you're like a big studio and Sony comes up to you and are like, what do you think about us acquiring you? All they're going to do is just turn around and be like, we want the Bungie treatment. And if you don't give us the Bungie treatment, we're going to pass. I got to go let my cat out. Hold on. Every time. You staying? All right, you're staying. I mean, this is just where I don't have a clear read on Sony's intent here in the long run. And I feel like I have a better read on Microsoft's. Let's not get confused here. And let's not kid ourselves. Microsoft is only going to make a game like Call of Duty or any other Activision Blizzard game when this deal goes through. They're only going to make these games available on PlayStation because they literally have to, legally speaking. If Microsoft comes out and says, no, we're going to make these games locked to Game Pass, this would get blocked. This would probably get blocked. Like, they have to come out here and say this shit. And all you need to do is look at Bethesda. Like, why do you think that it wasn't immediately, but when it came down to it, like when Phil Spencer had to knock the shit off and come out and be like, look, Phil, are they exclusive or not? And he's like, yes, they're exclusive to Game Pass. And it's like, okay, we got our answer. You see, it's like, make no mistake, Microsoft, believe it or not, they have made their intent clear. And it's as simple as, we want our games exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, the Xbox platform, and Xbox Game Pass. And that is fine. That is fine. Because Microsoft is willing to put their platform, their ecosystem, anywhere. Xbox would absolutely, just like that, in a heartbeat, put Game Pass on the PlayStation. But Sony's the one blocking it. And, this is where I'm going to be honest, man. Like, Sony is in a bizarre position where they're known for exclusivity. They're going to keep doing exclusivity, but then they are now faced with an issue where it's like, well, you look like the bad guy, Sony, because you like, I mean, dude, I'm just going to be honest, man. Phil Spencer kind of has Jim Ryan in an arm lock right now. Like he does, because all Phil ever has to do to win the day is just say, we'll put Game Pass on PlayStation. But that would destroy Sony potentially in the long run. Like, I hope people realize that if the future really is like services like Game Pass, like Microsoft believes it is, then if Sony were to let them be like, oh, come on in, bring game. I mean, I'm telling you, Game Pass on PlayStation would I don't even know how that would work, man. It wouldn't work. It would conflict way too much with PlayStation Plus. It would make PlayStation Plus almost seem practically redundant. It would destroy Sony's own service. It would whittle it down. And that is what Microsoft wants. Microsoft wants to have the absolute strong arm in services. And Sony knows this. And that's why Sony is like, no, we are not putting Game Pass on PlayStation. We got our own shit. Stay out. Stay away. That and Microsoft's way of trying to eliminate the competition is, all right, have it your way, Sony. We'll just take a Bethesda. We'll just take an Activision Blizzard. And who knows who they'll take next. And that's why I'm saying, dude, Sony, you got to do it. You got to go out there and make some moves before somebody else does. Because here's the thing. If Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard because, well, we don't want Amazon or Google to get them, then Sony has to have that same concern. That same concern applies to Sony. Let me see here. I got Richard, you're saying, MBG, I love you, but you got to stop pushing false hope, man. I can't help it. Like, dude, I'm going to be honest. It's because of my unique position, man. And that's the reality. Like, my unique position is that I have to care about, it's not that I have to, I choose to care about the stuff way more than the average person. Because this is what I chose to do. I make videos on YouTube, I cover it, I do my podcast. And so for me, when PlayStation is like completely silent and not really doing anything, it drives me nuts. And I know how that comes off to people. People are like, dude, aren't you ever satisfied? Isn't it ever enough? Didn't PlayStation do enough for you? And I get that. It's like, yeah, PlayStation's been doing really good, actually. And they have, just from a gamer consumer standpoint, I've been very, very satisfied. And I've been enjoying PlayStation a lot. But from the content creator perspective, from the fan that's always looking for the next thing and excited for like, okay, I'm pretty sure something's going to happen, right? It's really difficult for me to not get a little bit antsy and anxious when, again, like the past 2 weeks, for example, it's been, Sony has said nothing, dude. They've said they're still doing Elden Ring tweets out here, and I'm like, okay, I mean, and that's why I kind of I'm so quick to, oh, did you hear what Jeff Grubb said? Yeah, that's going to catch my attention, man. Like, and I'm not even going to pretend it doesn't. I'm not going to try to act like, oh, I don't care. No, I do care. Jeff Grubb saying he heard of a big acquisition and he's saying that it's not Kojima Productions. I'm paying attention to that. I'm listening. I'm not saying that I'm over here like holding up my Capcom and Square Enix banners saying it's happening tomorrow. I'm not doing that. I think that's a little bit extreme for sure. But yeah, I'm going to come out here and be like, yo, look at what he's saying. Who could it be? And if you consider that too much false hope, well, hey man, I'm used to it at this point. I'm calloused. I'm calloused at this point. I don't even know what disappointment is anymore. I'm just so used to insiders being wrong and the rumors just being totally wrong that it's like, another rumor wrong? On to the next one. Let's go. I feel nothing anymore. After the blue box situation, I'm numb to it all. I'm numb to it all. But yeah, I will admit there are times where I don't know. I do go in a little bit too hard though. I do. Severin Evans, you're saying PlayStation has the right to scoop up a big publisher themselves also if they wish to. I don't see anything wrong with it, especially in this climate. And that exactly, like that's a very simplistic way of just saying what I'm trying to say. And I agree, Severin, you're right. At this moment in time, I mean, come on, like if Sony announced next week we acquired Konami or Capcom or something, and they just dropped that, I mean, the internet would blow up. But I have to imagine a lot of Xbox fans would be like, okay, can't say I didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? Like, you will have some Xbox fans that are like in total shock, but I think most of them would be like, yeah, it makes sense why Sony would do that, right? Like, 2 + 2 = 4 here. Yeah, of course. Magnum Visuals, you're saying Sony's 10 games as a service games can have more affordable microtransactions to stay competitive across. They wouldn't want to make their customers broke with one game. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, Magnum Visuals. This is my biggest concern with Sony doing 10 live service games is like, that's a lot of microtransactions. That's a lot of monetization, and that's okay. That's okay. I get it. A lot of these games are going to be free to play. You know, the idea, I don't know, man. The idea that Sony is going to reduce their microtransaction prices, no. I think what Sony's going to do, and this is assuming that they're not going to get overly greedy, is I think Sony's going to look around across the industry, and this is if they're smart, they're going to look at the pricing and the monetization of some of the most played and most relevant games as a service, and they're going to kind of mirror that a little bit. I could see that maybe $1 or $2 cheaper, but I mean, look, if Fortnite can sell a skin in their free-to-play shooter for like, how much are their skins? I don't know, guys. Somebody tell me in the chat. How much is a average Fortnite skin? Is it like $10, 15, more than that? I don't know. $15? $15 to $20? Wow. Really? I feel like that's pretty I feel like that's pretty expensive. But I guess, I don't know. I'm assuming the $20 skins are like ones that are branded, right? Like the more popular like branding deals they do, or character deals, whatever it is. They're like announcing something new each week. So you're telling me if I wanted like a God of War skin in Fortnite, it would be $20? Yeah, how much is the God of War skin? The cat ears will be $20. It's $20. Wow. Okay. And that's the thing, dude. Like, I'm gonna be straight up. I don't play Fortnite, but if I did play Fortnite, yeah, I'm gonna drop $20 for the Kratos skin. And that might be the only $20 I ever spend on Fortnite, but I want that Kratos skin. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money for a skin, but they, I think that's kind of what Sony's going to do, but I don't know that Sony will have the same leverage. If The Last of Us Online is not going to be able to do, I mean, let's go down this rabbit hole for just a second. I was going to say The Last of Us multiplayer game cannot do what Fortnite does. Fortnite can get crazy. Fortnite can get silly. You can have the weirdest characters. You can have X-Men. You can have Marvel characters. You can have PlayStation characters. You can have Master Chief. You can have it all. Surely The Last of Us Online can't do that. Unless, are they going to do it? I mean, let's not forget, guys. Kurt Marginu, I think his name is. He said earlier this year, that Naughty Dog is taking the most inspiration from Fortnite right now. Always evolving and always changing their world and always having something new. And I'm like, yo, are we about to see like a Batman skin in The Last of Us Online? I'm not even kidding right now. Like, are we about to see that? Because they could go in that direction. Now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know, man. JDTV wants a clown skin, an MBG clown skin. Make it happen, Sony. I'd be okay with that. I need some royalties, you know? Yeah, that would be, you're saying that would be world breaking. It would be, but man, that would be, you're saying that would be dope? That would be so fun. I would love that just to see like what it would be, just what the conversations would be like at that point. Like, man, this Last of Us Online game is like some of the best gameplay ever, but holy crap, did you see, like, I'm playing against people in like Hello Kitty skins. I'm like, ripping their head off. Or maybe that's like, you don't necessarily rip people's heads off in The Last of Us, but you're doing pretty brutal stuff to people. Yeah, that would be weird, man. That's another thing. I want to say this as well. We talk about, I was going to say Tony. We talk about Tony. We talk about Sony and their 10 games as a service. I mean, do you think there's a possibility that Sony is going to try to tone down the violence level and the gore level in The Last of Us Online in an attempt to maybe make it more wide appealing and easier to pick up for a younger audience, maybe? I don't know. I think these are things we have to consider. Now, I don't necessarily need them to go over the top with the gore factor. I'm not going to be playing it for the gore, but yeah, then again, Call of Duty still has the gore factor and they got like 8-year-olds playing it. So yeah, you're right. The gore could sell it. Yeah, maybe the other way around. Richard, you're saying now being hypercritical on myself, Slow Clap, Amber Labs, Deviation, Firewalk, OG Games, Supermassive, and one of Capcom / Square, Sega, Konami all at once. That would be too, well, I don't think that they would ever announce like a multi-acquisition like that, because I feel like that would kind of take away the shine. It's like the same reason why Sony probably didn't announce Blue Point Games acquisition the same day as Housemarque. You want to give those announcements their own room to breathe, and you don't want one studio to step over another or, step on another's toes. But yeah, there a lot of those studios I could see Sony picking up. Slow Clap, Ember Lab, Deviation, I think it has to be next. Darren, you're saying, seriously doubt Sony wants the scrutiny. Third place buys a publisher and the entire world cries monopoly. Imagine what would happen if first place buys one. Well, yeah, but I will say, I don't know that Sony cares. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't think that Sony cares about the scrutiny they get, because Sony, even by not buying publishers, has still gotten quite a bit of scrutiny in the past year and a half. And as somebody who covers PlayStation, and I've been covering them for a while, I can tell you right now that they don't care. The only time PlayStation cares about the scrutiny is if it's something like very obvious, like, and it becomes like kind of completely one-sided. So like, for example, Sony got a lot of scrutiny with their $10 upgrades, but they didn't change it because there were a lot of people saying that, it's $10, I don't really care. And then there were a lot of people saying this is the worst thing ever. But it kind of evened it out where it's like, people will move on in 2 weeks. And they did. People moved on and nothing happened. With the GT7 thing, people did not move on in a week. People did not move on in 2 weeks. And it was very one-sided where almost everybody was like, yeah, it's PlayStation, this is pretty bad. You should probably do something about this. We don't really like this. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll fix that right away. And that's, what I'm trying to say is that if Sony were to announce a publisher, it would not be one-sided at all. There would be tons of PlayStation fans, like just like you saw with Xbox fans, celebrating it and excited. There would be just as many people upset over it, but it would be pretty down the middle, I'd say. And because of that, I don't think they would have to worry about scrutiny necessarily. Salvazardo6, you're saying the combat in Horizon is awesome. Surely one of their live service games has to be an online Monster Hunter-like game, right? Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to do that, but man, it has me worried. We talk about Guerrilla Games. They have a second game in development, and it's been in development for almost 4 years at this point. It's a AAA game. It's a multiplayer game. There have been seemingly some hints that it's a shooter, but there's also talk that it might be like a Horizon online game. And look, I love Horizon, but I'm going to be pretty upset if that's what it is, only because I don't want to see that happen to Sony Studios like Guerrilla. Like, I don't want Guerrilla to just be Horizon. I don't. Especially knowing the expertise they have with first-person shooters or just shooters in general. I don't want to see, everything Horizon. I don't want to see, here's Horizon 2. We're working on Horizon 3. Here's Horizon Call of the Mountain. Here's Horizon first-person shooter, or not first-person shooter, but Horizon Online. It's like Monster Hunter. I mean, it would be cool. Like, yeah, that I feel like that is something that has to happen, but I don't think it has to happen right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think, like, let's do a shooter. And then after that, maybe do Horizon Online. So, yeah, I don't want to see any studio that Sony has just get locked into one thing, and that's like what they're known for. That would, in my opinion, that would kind of suck. I don't want it to be oversaturated. Horizon cart. Yeah, right. But I do think that and that's, I don't know, man. That's the thing that bothers me a little bit is like, I don't know. I feel like it's more likely. I feel like it's more likely that it will be Horizon Online. I do. Oh, we have a scoop from our favorite. Not my favorite. Absolutely my least favorite name. But I don't know if they listen to my podcast, but surely they must listen to it dropping this today. Oops Leaks drops another leak. Now, I want it to be known, guys, we don't know if Oops Leaks is actually reliable. Oops Leaks, I hate that name. This individual has revealed quite a bit of information, but we haven't had anything come of it yet. Like, they've revealed info about the new BioShock. They revealed info about multiple PlayStation studios. And we're in that phase right now where in the coming months, we're going to figure out if this person is reliable or not. So here is the latest leak from Oops Leaks. Take it with a pinch of salt. Sony is considering the possibility of announcing some major games outside of big events. Some titles may be announced separately to distribute media attention. There's also a high chance we'll see a free online play comeback if the new PlayStation Plus will be successful. Holy shit, that is huge if that's true. And I want more insiders who are listening. I would try myself, but I can't. I don't know. I don't have any contacts. That would be fucking colossal. I need to know if that's true. Because if that's true, everybody go sign up for, well, not everybody, but if you have any interest in PlayStation Plus Premium, go sign up and help everybody else so we can get online for free. I'll do it. I'll sign up for PlayStation Plus Premium if it means that Sony can come out here and be like, yo, we're removing the online paywall. But that's very interesting to me if it's true that Sony is considering announcing some of their major games outside of big events. How do you guys feel about that? I don't know how I feel about that. I like it, actually. I fucking like that. Yes, let's go. I want that. That's better. You know what? That's a hell of a lot better. Sony, give me a new game every month. Announce a new game every month and a half, every 2 months, because you know what? That's better than waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 months for just, one big event, because sometimes it's too much at once, and it does get kind of dull just sitting around waiting, right? That would be awesome. I'm all for that. But I'll be honest, it would be difficult. I want to say it would be difficult to accept that if Sony were to start doing that, we wouldn't have big events. I think we would still have events, but they wouldn't be as big. But if you think about it, that's kind of already what we're getting. I mean, I want to ask you guys your opinion on this. PlayStation's last proper event was in September of 2021. It was what? September 2021, and it was just a PlayStation showcase. They announced Spider-Man 2. They announced Wolverine. They announced KOTOR Remake. And they showed the first gameplay and story trailer of God of War. So that's like basically 4 PlayStation Studios things. And it was a 40-minute event. Those 4 PlayStation Studios announcements were stacked for the last 10 minutes of the event. So we basically had, let's be real right now, it was basically a 10-minute PlayStation showcase. And they condensed 4 announcements in one time. What if instead of doing that, in September, they show the new God of War trailer? Okay? They show the new God of War trailer. And then in October, they drop the Spider-Man 2 trailer. And then maybe in December, they drop the Wolverine trailer. And then maybe early in 2022, they announce KOTOR Remake. Now that is interesting. That's maybe I'm biased here. I'm going to be honest. You can hear my bias coming through. Absolutely, because as a content creator, this would be amazing to me. The idea that I could look forward to random spontaneous game announcements from Sony and not have to wait for them to ring the bell every couple of months at specific times. Yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. That would make it so I could keep my content fresh more often and have more to talk about. And I feel like Sony, yeah, I don't know, man. That's maybe the natural progression of things at this point, if you think about it. You're saying that would be horrible, that would ruin surprises? No, not necessarily, dude. Not necessarily. I mean, if Sony were to reveal tomorrow, Monday, April 18th, they reveal, hold on, I have to try to think of a game that hasn't been rumored. Damn it, somebody give me a game that hasn't been rumored. Something that nobody's talked about. Just something that could come out of left field from Sony. I'm interested to see what the chat... Oh, that's a good one. That's actually a really good one. Okay. No, I like that first one. You guys can stop. I already got the game. What if tomorrow Sony just comes out and announces with a big trailer, a big blog post. Maybe they even do like I don't know what else they would do other than that, really. But they come out and they're like, here's a new Getaway game made by London Studio. And it's like a 2.5-minute trailer showing off some of the game. I mean, dude, you're going to tell me people wouldn't be like, holy shit, this is awesome. I'm pretty sure people would be losing their minds. Now, I will admit, maybe the Getaway isn't the best example, only because it's not the most popular IP. I'm trying to think, okay, a new Uncharted game. How about that? That's a very popular IP. What if Sony announced a new Uncharted game for PS5 tomorrow? They just dropped it from the sky like an acquisition. But it's for a game. You're going to tell me that people wouldn't be hyped as shit for that? That would be the talk of the town for at least a week and a half, 2 weeks most. You know? It'd be pretty huge. It'd be huge. And then what if, like, from that point forward, we knew that, dude, game announcements can drop from the sky just like acquisition announcements. I don't think it would ruin anything, man. I don't. Gabriel Ortiz Jr. is saying, if Sony bought Capcom and the games remain multi-platform, I can see it dropping on PlayStation Plus while they will charge full price on Xbox. That would, or what would gamers choose? That would be interesting. That would be very interesting, but there's no way in hell Sony would do that. No way, dude. I'm going to be like, dude, I don't know how many times I can say dude, but I'm just going to keep saying dude because at this point, I'm just saying it a lot. Sony is never going... I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain. Yeah, other weeks I'm saying bro, and then other weeks I'm saying dude. Good sir. I'm just going to start saying good sir. I'm telling you now that Sony is not going to give up full price game sales until they have to. I'm telling you, until they have to, they're not going to. I got to go let my other cat out now because they can't leave at the same time. That would just be too much. My cats can't both leave the room at the same time. Obviously, they can't do that. Is my fly undone? Oh, I see somebody saying in the chat, "You're trolling me. You're trolling me now." That would have been pretty embarrassing. But yeah, I don't think Sony's going to give up full game sales until they have to. Definitely not until they have to. Let me see. Dude, here we go again. Blue Box tweeted. Every week in my chat, at least one person's like, in all caps, Blue Box tweeted. And sometimes it comes true. Other times it doesn't. But it's pretty funny. All right, let me see here. JDTV, you're saying, which addiction is worse? Going to the casino, but with the possibility of winning some money, or buying skins? Buying skins can be an addiction as well. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like what's a little bit unfair about that is when it comes to casinos, like, they are literally set up in way, well, I don't know. I guess that's a tough one because I guess you could say games do it too. I was going to say where they're literally trying to like set things up in a way where it's psychologically trying to push you towards don't leave here, just stay and you can maybe make more money back that you lost. Just keep giving us more money and maybe you'll make it back. You probably won't, but just, and they'll set up things in a way that, but I guess you could say games do that too. Games do that, you know? And I don't know, man. I'm not. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say they're both bad. If you want to say pick your poison, which is worse, I mean it is true. It is true. Well, no, hold on though. I was gonna say it's true. You could make money at a casino, but I could turn that around and say you could make money playing games though too. You can. You can become a streamer and you can make videos and stuff like that on games. So. You know, there's that to consider, and I guess it comes down to what's less likely to happen. You know, winning big at a casino or winning big playing a game and finding an audience and making money. Now that's an interesting one. I don't know what has worse odds. But you know what? There's actually another part to this Oops Leaks that I need to read. He continued here. Let me see. So we read the first part. So the first part basically says that Sony might be considering announcing some bigger titles, some major titles outside of events to distribute more media. I mean, he straight up says it's for media attention. So Sony thinks if they were to start announcing games more sporadically and not just at events, it would allow them to kind of make the headlines more often and be more relevant. And yeah, absolutely they would. Here's the second, and then they say that apparently there is this is what's interesting, and I really got to wonder who Oops Leaks is in contact with here. And we're going to have to see, because this is a loaded leak, man, if this is true. Like, we're going to find out, and it's almost unbelievable to me. I'm going to be honest, like, what Oops Leaks is saying here makes me think that this guy, his contact maybe isn't actually good or legit, because he's saying that there's not just a chance, there's a high chance free online will come back if the new PS Plus is successful. That I don't know about that, man. Because I feel like the amount of subs that Sony would lose would just be too great. It would just be too great for Sony to consider doing that. Like, I mean, the only conceivable way Sony could do that, there are two things here. There are two things we have to consider. One is you have to think What is Sony prepared to do? What is Sony prepared to do for PlayStation Plus? Because I will say this, one interesting thing that Jim Ryan said that could allude to this being a conversation that is happening with PlayStation executives right now, and he made this explicitly clear. He said their main goal with PlayStation Plus Premium, as it is now, is they want to see how many of their current PlayStation Plus subscribers are going to buy into it. He did say that obviously they're looking for more. They're looking for more new subscribers, but the main goal is to see right now, based off of what they're offering, how many people are going to, who are currently subscribed to the $60 a year PS Plus, are going to up it. Because if you think about it this way, and again, it depends on what Sony's end game is here. There's currently 48 million. Yeah, well, I think it's 48 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, right? Let's say there's currently 48 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. Let's assume, just for the sake of simplicity, that every single one of those people subscribed to PS Plus are paying $60 a year. Now, if we cut that in half, right? Let's say we take about, let's just 22 million, 23 million, 24 million, something like that. Let's say half of the current PlayStation Plus subscriber base. Things get really complicated now that I'm thinking about it when you take in the fact that there's two tiers here. But again, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm trying to just be as simple as I can here. Let's say half of the current PlayStation Plus subscriber base doubles up and they go to PlayStation Plus Premium and they're now paying $120 a year. I mean, at that point, Sony could effectively. No, see that when I think this through, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work because I was gonna say Sony could effectively, hey, we're removing the paywall. But if they did that, how many of those subscribers on PlayStation Plus Premium would just be like, well, then I'm unsubscribing. Like, that's one of the biggest reasons. I don't know, man. I don't know. It sounds unbelievable to me, but here's the other thing that I really want people to consider. And I'm saying this because we have heard this before. We have heard from people who were kind of close to Microsoft sources that at some point in time, Microsoft, we don't know when, but they made it sound like it's going to happen. Like it's a decision that's already been made. It's just a matter of timing. At some point in time, Microsoft is going to remove the online paywall for Xbox Live Gold. We don't know when, but they're going to do that. That sounds believable to me. I got to be honest. Like, the reason why that sounds believable to me is because you have to understand what is the main goal here for Microsoft. Microsoft, their main goal lies in PlayStation Plus, in Xbox Game Pass. Knowing that Xbox Game Pass is the be-all, end-all for the Xbox division and for Microsoft, they would get hit pretty hard by removing that paywall for Xbox Live Gold. Like, they would get hit very hard at first, but it would be, in the grand scheme of like Microsoft and money, it wouldn't mean anything. But they know that would be a great selling point for Game Pass, wouldn't it? You can play online games for free. Just subscribe to Game Pass. You don't need Xbox Live Gold. Just subscribe to Game Pass. And actually, it would effectively allow them to justifiably raise the price of Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft could conceivably raise the price of Xbox Game Pass and say that, well, we're retiring Xbox, maybe not retiring Gold, but I don't know. We're removing the paywall. We're upping the price of Game Pass to just a flat $15, so no more Game Pass Ultimate per se. Because when you pay for Game Pass Ultimate, you're getting Game Pass and Xbox Live. So let's just say they make it $15 a month. I mean, it would be a really smart move, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, that would be a really smart move for Microsoft, because they would be getting praise. Actually, people would effectively, oh, dude, I think that's exactly what Microsoft is going to do. they would effectively be getting people to praise them for raising the price of Game Pass. Because people will come out and be like, oh, well, that sucks. They're raising it by $5. No one's going to be saying that. Everybody's going to be saying, we don't have to pay for Xbox Live Gold anymore. I'm just saying, to me, that sounds very much in line with the way Microsoft works these days, where Microsoft has a way of, they want to keep the goodwill of people. The goodwill is more important to Microsoft than I'm going to be honest, Xbox Live Gold monthly subscriptions. It is like goodwill is more important for them, because if they can keep building on that goodwill, they can keep pushing Game Pass like they have been. They can get people to advertise Game Pass for them by being like, this is the best deal in gaming, and it got even better because now you don't even need to pay. And it would, you're saying, bro, you think you know how Microsoft works? Dude, I mean, I feel like if you look at the way they've been marketing Game Pass and some of the decisions they've been making, I think that's pretty obvious that the goodwill of the gamer is probably the most important thing Microsoft has in their pocket right now. It is. Money is not a problem for Microsoft. And the best way that they're going to build a subscriber base is through goodwill, by getting people to talk about it, by getting people to advertise it for them. And I think that this would be a double whammy for Sony, because, well, for Microsoft, I mean, because if Microsoft did this and PlayStation is still making you pay for online, oh my God. Oh man. That's going to be bad for Sony. That is Sony, and I think Sony's preparing for that. That's why I believe this, because I think Sony may be preparing to be ready for the day where Microsoft does this. If Microsoft removes their Xbox Live Gold paywall, Sony will have no choice, and I want to emphasize that, no choice but to do the same thing. And I know that there are going to be people that will say, no, PlayStation doesn't have to. They can still do it. No, they can't. Like, believe me when I tell you, no, they cannot. Sony will get crucified and they will get destroyed if they come out here and they say, we're still charging for online. And by that point, it'll be really funny because, you know, Nintendo will just, at that point, just be getting into it. And by the time Nintendo is just getting into it, Microsoft and Sony got out of it, which would be funny as shit if that happened. But I'm telling you now, that's why this makes sense to me. I'm not saying I believe it entirely. I very much see a future where Sony and Microsoft are both, you know, where they are both still charging for online. I see that, and I don't see that. I could see that not changing. But if this, I don't know, man, if this has any truth to it. Severin Evans, you're saying PlayStation's endgame is very simple. They want a recurring revenue stream. It would be guaranteed money and a safety net for more risky projects. I agree, Severin Evans. I'm assuming you're talking about games as a service, and I agree. That would be great. You're saying adding gold to Game Pass isn't really taking the paywall away. Well, that's the thing, is like, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, Xbox's endgame is very clear. And the things that Microsoft are willing, like, I think people don't fully realize, like, guys, Microsoft paid $68 billion for Activision Blizzard to get games like Call of Duty. They do not want Call of Duty behind a second paywall. They want Call of Duty in Game Pass. And they want Call of Duty to be what gets people to subscribe to Game Pass for not just a month, for years to come. And you don't do that if Call of Duty is not only behind Game Pass, but also behind Xbox Live Gold. I'm telling you, Xbox's endgame is obvious. They will do anything that is necessary to flood people into their service. And I think Sony knows this. And I think that this is why Sony is maybe having a conversation where they're like, look, if the day comes where we have to remove the online paywall, it doesn't mean that, look, if Sony were to remove the online paywall for PlayStation Plus, that doesn't mean that they're just going to lose all of their PlayStation Plus subscribers. What it does mean is they're going to lose a lot. Just like Microsoft won't have any at that point, but Sony will lose a lot. And that is a way that, that's a way that Microsoft could effectively hurt Sony's bottom line. And so, I don't know. It's a tough thing here. I will say that what I'm saying is a bit of wishful thinking. It's a bit of wishful thinking because I would like to see this happen. I would like to see Microsoft make a move that makes Sony have to remove their paywall for online gaming. I would love to see that. That would be great. That's the kind of competition I want. And that's why I want to believe that this is true. All right. So anyway, I got to get to the second part of what Oops Leak said. He says PlayStation Plus subscribers will have special benefits in first-party live service games. Interesting. I don't know about the development of direct PlayStation 3 emulation, which I've been asked a lot with DMs lately, but for me it makes more sense than cloud streaming servers with real consoles. So, So it sounds like, if this is to be believed, what Sony's plan might be is if they end up possibly removing, well, I think the removal of the online paywall would come later, but it sounds like what he's saying is if Sony announces games like Twisted Metal, SOCOM, Last of Us Online, and many others that we don't know about yet, maybe Deviation Games, Haven Studio, if Sony's like, look, if you subscribe to PS Plus, you will get special benefits for all of these games that you only get through PlayStation Plus. I mean, I don't know. Like, would that, if you think about it, like, oh, okay. So if you think about it, that is almost effectively turning into what we see with GTA Plus, right? Because, yeah, that's kind of what that would be if you think about it. That's essentially what Sony would be transforming it into if they removed the online paywall. Except, let's make it clear. By that, I mean like maybe I have to think about this. I mean, I'm not saying that PlayStation Plus is the same as GTA Plus. They're very different. Like, with PlayStation Plus, you would still get free games. And obviously, if you're at the higher tier, you get all the other benefits of PlayStation Plus. It's way more than GTA Online Plus. But I'm just saying it's like, that's fascinating because the idea that Sony would leverage their first-party live service free-to-play games and say that this is a reason why you would want to subscribe to PlayStation Plus. That's different. Like, we have never seen Sony do anything like that before. And so I'm as somebody who's looking forward to many of these games, assuming that they're good, I would definitely stay subscribed to PS Plus for these games if they're good and I play them a lot. I wouldn't feel the need to stay subscribed to PS Plus just to access online. And you know what? The more I think about it, I just had another thought. It would look really strange, wouldn't it? It would look really strange for Sony to come out here with some big multiplayer live service free-to-play games and say, you don't need PlayStation Plus for this. You don't. But any game that is sold at full price that could potentially have an online component does need PlayStation Plus. I don't know. I think that this is actually more believable than some people might want to think. I think that the idea that Sony, you're saying that doesn't make any, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of weird because right now Sony doesn't have that. I mean, unless you count Destiny, that's what I mean. PlayStation Plus is already not needed for free-to-play games. And so it's like if Sony starts making free-to-play games, you can kind of see how this sets up a little bit of a, well, wait. So you're telling me I don't need PlayStation Plus to play The Last of Us Online, but I need PlayStation Plus to summon somebody in fucking Elden Ring? What? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird. And it makes no sense. It's kind of ass backwards in a way if you think about it. So I don't know. I hope this is true. That's all I can say. I hope this is true because I've always said that locking online play, whether it's Microsoft or Sony, locking online play behind a subscription like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold is just bullshit. And I think that it just needs to go away. And the way I see it is that if your service is actually good, if your service is good and actually valuable and is worth it, people will subscribe to it. And I remember when Sony first put out PlayStation Plus, correct me if I'm remembering wrong, but PlayStation Plus, when it first came out on PS3, people actually really liked it because Sony had to work their asses off to make it seem appealing. Like, they had to tell you, like, this is why you would want to subscribe to this service. And they had to put good games into it. They had to make it really appealing. And people started to subscribe for those benefits. And it seems like once they kind of decided with the PS4, okay, you're going to need it for online now, it seems like the quality of PS Plus like dipped for a while, and it's been kind of on and off ever since. So I don't know. We'll have to see, guys. I'm very fascinated with this, and I guess my only question to Oops Leaks, maybe I don't know, maybe I'll reach out to him or something, but my only question is if this is true, and he's saying that Sony is considering announcing bigger games outside of events. At that point, I'm just simply going to ask, well, when does Sony plan to start doing that? Are they planning to start that this month? Next month? June? I will say the timing is interesting. And and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I move on to the next topic. It would be strange if Sony was like, we're going to start this now. Right? Like, as we're approaching June, as we're approaching the time when all the big events happen, wouldn't it be so weird if Sony was like, Xbox does their E3, there's all these shows happening, Summer Games, whatever, the live Game Fest, and all this stuff, and then Sony's just like, here's The Last of Us Online, and like that's literally all they show and reveal, and then like we don't hear anything, and then in July they're like, here's SOCOM. And then in August, they're like, here's, I don't know, something else where we're going to Sly Cooper. That'd be so weird. I feel like if Sony were to start this, they should start it next year if possible, because we're close enough. We're close enough to June that it's like, look, at this point, you're probably better off just doing an event. It's going to look pretty weird. You're going to get a lot of blowback if you just drop one game announcement in June. I don't think that would fly. I think Sony would have to do a little small event in June at the very least. So, I don't know. We'll see. Now, I want to move on to another topic here. Well, you guys want to talk about God of War? I think we should talk about God of War and how I don't know. Do you guys view God of War as is it more DLC in your opinion or what? Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this is a conversation that's been happening lately. We don't just have to talk about that, but I have two tweets here. I have two tweets here that I want to go over. One is, actually, this one is not necessarily pertaining to God of War. God of War is mentioned, but you might find it interesting. We have the individual on Twitter, Robert Morrison. He says he is your friendly neighborhood animator at PlayStation Studios Visual Art. And he says here, it's portfolio day. I'm Robert, and sometimes I animate characters getting ouchies. And he makes it clear that he worked on God of War 2018. And then he follows his tweet up by saying, I am not working on God of War Ragnarok, but something equally cool. Now, again, he's working at PlayStation Studios, so he's working on something at PlayStation Studios. And again, this is where PlayStation fans are getting a little bit desperate, where it's like, all right, so what are you working on, bro? Because we're getting tired of the teases here. We need to know what's going on. So some people are thinking maybe The Last of Us something, which would be believable. But another tweet comes from yet another developer. And this is something that I want to mention is we have seen numerous developers come out here and tweet about God of War Ragnarok and how they're either at home playing it. And more importantly, we've seen multiple people leave Sony Santa Monica. And some people might think that's concerning, where it's like, uh-oh, why are so many developers leaving Santa Monica? It's actually not a bad thing. It's totally normal for contract developers or just developers who are ready to move on to another studio when they're done a big project. It's very, very normal. Anytime a big game wraps up and it's done for developers to move on, that's very normal. And so we've seen multiple Santa Monica developers coming out to Twitter saying that they're leaving. I talked about one in my video earlier this week, but we have a second, Melissa Shim, who says, oh boy, do I have the feels. It's been an adventurous 6.5 years at Santa Monica Studio. So I don't know. She doesn't sound like a contract worker per se. This place has so much talent and heart. Thanks for all the laughs and even the tears. I wish the team all the best with getting Ragnarok to the finish line until we cross paths again. And so it's beginning to seem like, yeah, guys, I think God of War Ragnarok is pretty much done. Like, I think Ragnarok is ready to be shown off fully, like with the release date. Like, I mean, maybe it could even be ready to be released at this point. But, we have Christopher Judge, the voice actor of Kratos, saying he can't wait for people to see it. Ryan Hurst was visiting the studio. A developer was saying that him and his daughter were playing the game at home. And I'm like, I think it's ready, guys. And a lot of people are speculating that on 4/20 or 18th, I don't know if it's the 20th. When did God of War 2018 launch? Was it the 18th or the 20th? I think it was the 20th, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was the 20th. A lot of people are thinking that this is when Sony's going to do something. Okay, yeah, it was the 20th. I'm thinking the 18th because it was released in 2018. So April 20th, 2018 is when God of War launched. A lot of people are thinking that would be a great time. And I agree. Like, why not? Why not? Even if it's just a new trailer, why not drop something for God of War Ragnarok on the, I guess it would be, the 4-year anniversary? Yeah, it'd be the 4-year anniversary of God of War. So they should go for it, man. They should just drop something, a state of play. They should drop a state of play, I think. That'd be great. But there's been a bit of controversy because the original creator of God of War, David Jaffe, was saying that he looks at God of War Ragnarok as DLC. He said this in a tweet. He said, I'm not talking about this anymore beyond this. I don't think calling something DLC is an insult. It means more of the same. If you call something DLC to one of the best games of 2018, for example, you're not saying it looks bad. You're simply saying it looks like it's more of the same. Now, I will say this with, I think, what David Jaffe, like where the confusion lies. He's clearly, I mean, I don't know. It seems like he's getting a lot of flack for this. And it's understandable why. I mean, you're gonna be getting a lot of flack if you come out here and say God of War Ragnarok looks like DLC. But I think where the confusion is here is he is correct. I want to make that known. Like, David Jaffe is correct in saying that you can, like, let's look at Spider-Man Miles Morales. That is on like a technical level, it is DLC. It is downloadable content. It is an expansion, a downloadable expansion. It's not a full proper sequel to Spider-Man. Everybody knows this. But where the difference lies is in the pricing. So that's the thing here, is I think the reason why people are getting pissed off at David Jaffe for saying this is because you can't really say that something looks like DLC and that's fine. It just looks like more of the same. While it's also being priced at a full price game. And that's where I disagree with David Jaffe. I'm just saying, like, from the perspective of what is DLC, does calling something DLC mean it's bad? No. But calling something DLC that is standalone and full price, now that is where you're going to get some flack, because I'm going to give you my opinion. In my opinion, I think God of War is going to be a full, complete game that when I'm probably going to pay $70 for the PS5 version to get a physical copy. When I pay $70 for God of War Ragnarok, I'm anticipating, and I fully expect, and I believe that it's going to be worth that $70, because I'm expecting a full, complete video game that it feels like just as good as God of War 2018 did, in terms of feeling satisfied with the amount of story, the amount of content, the amount of variety in environments and bosses. And I mean, yeah, of course, some of the environments are going to be the same because it's still set in the, same setting. But nonetheless, I'm expecting a full product. And what I'm not expecting is this. I'm not expecting to play God of War Ragnarok after paying $70 for it and thinking to myself, wow, that was like very similar to my experience with Spider-Man Miles Morales. You see what I'm saying? That's where the difference lies. Like, I think David Jaffe's just getting a little bit confused because people are not angry at him for saying that DLC is bad. Like, no, DLC is great. I think we just saw Returnal get DLC. We see games get DLC all the time, and they're awesome. The problem and the reason why people are getting pissed off is because to most people, God of War being called DLC is offensive, because yes, it would be fucking offensive if I paid $70 to Sony for God of War Ragnarok after 4 years of development to feel like, holy shit, this just feels like DLC. That would be bullshit, and that would be a problem, and I would take offense to that, and that's not what people are expecting at all. And so I think what David Jaffe needs to kind of realize is that by you saying that you think God of War Ragnarok looks like it's DLC, you're basically saying that this game doesn't look like it's going to be worth $60 or $70, that it should be cheaper. That is the problem here. Nobody is upset about DLC. Nobody's upset about supporting DLC for games they like. They get, and I agree with that. Like, that's where, like, look, that's, I see somebody saying that he's not saying that, and maybe you're right. Maybe he's not saying that. I'm going to be honest. I didn't get the full context. I have no problems with David Jaffe. I think he's a cool dude. I respect his work, obviously, and what he's done. But I'm just seeing a lot of people kind of talk about this, and it's like I think that I'll put it to you this way. My only question to somebody who says God of War Ragnarok looks like more of the same. And that's not a bad thing. Like that, yeah, that's what a sequel is supposed to be. You're expecting to a degree more of the same. That's why you wanted a sequel. But I think that the question is like, if you're going to say that it looks like more of the same, but also say you think it looks like it could be DLC or looks like DLC, my only question at that point is, well, do you feel comfortable paying full price for what you believe may look like DLC? That's the only thing that matters here. Because I'll tell you right now, like, for me, I'm expecting something significantly more, I guess is the best way to put it, with God of War Ragnarok than I am with, say, something like Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, I gave Spider-Man Miles Morales a ton of credit because it was at it was not a $70 game. I think it was like $50 for PS5. I think it was $40. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was $40 for PS4. And I was like, wow, this is a perfect ratio of content and things to do and things to complete and things to play for price. Perfect ratio. And it's as simple as when I pay, like, just like for Horizon Forbidden West was in no way, shape, or form DLC to Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, was it more of the same in a lot of ways? Absolutely, it's a sequel, and that's okay. Nobody's going to deny that. And that's what we like about it. I want more robot dinosaurs. I want more environments to explore. I want more story, to uncover. I want more combat. You want it more, right? But you want different, I guess, in its own way. I want a different story now. I want to meet different characters. I want to explore new locations. I want to discover new robots. I want to, discover new weapons. I want new, more, fleshed out upgrade trees. I want cauldrons, stuff like that. And that's why Horizon, in my opinion, succeeds tremendously at being a proper sequel, where it's like, if I paid $60 for Horizon Zero Dawn and then 5 years later paid $70 for Horizon Forbidden West, absolutely, they both felt great. They both felt worth it. And I'm all I'm trying to say is, from my personal perspective and where I'm sitting, I'm fully expecting that when I buy God of War at full price and I play it, and by the time I finish it and maybe get the platinum for it, do everything, I'll be like, damn, that was awesome. And that was like some of the best money I ever spent. And this is not even, this. And yeah, but I'm hoping that it would be offensive to call it DLC, right? The last thing we want is for people, when they start playing God of War Ragnarok, imagine if it comes out in a couple months. Imagine if we started playing God of War Ragnarok and the internet just all kind of collectively came out and be like, holy shit, this just feels like DLC, bro. I mean, that would be a nightmare, would it not? That would be bad. And I have to imagine that that's not what people are going to feel. I think something else, and I really want to emphasize this. I think this is really important to emphasize. We don't know that much about God of War Ragnarok. Like, we really haven't seen that much, and I think people kind of forget that, where it's like, yeah, actually, you're right. We've only gotten like a 3-minute trailer, and that's it. Like, who the hell knows what surprises could be in store for us with that game? We have no clue. Just because some of the environments, there's still snow. Are we going to be mad about that? Like, what do you mean? Why am I not in the damn desert? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's going to be okay. Oh my God, he's reusing the same boat animation. That's fine. Not a big deal. Like, I'd rather developers not waste time creating a slightly different, barely noticeable, alteration in the boat animation. It's like when the internet, some people on the internet were freaking out about Horizon Forbidden West because they used the same animation when she would descend with her grappling hook. And I'm like, oh God, like, are you guys serious? Like, I can't tell. I would hope you're not serious, because like you want developers who are already working their asses off to try to produce content for this game. You want them to take time and effort to change ever so slightly an animation that is perfectly fine and doesn't need to be changed. Also, thank you, voice crack. Thank you to my mods for being on top of the bots that are, and by bots, I do not mean X-bots. I mean literal bots that keep coming into the chat. Thank you for being on top of them. I have noticed. Shout out to my mods. Great work today. Shout out to the X-bots. True Whittier saying David Jaffe is salty. He's not on God of War. That his own, I think he would say his own God of War is not better. Well, no, I don't know, man. I think David Jaffe respects, if I had to assume, I think he respects Cory Barlog and the new, God of War 2018. But a lot of people still, let's be real here. Like, God of War 2018 does not take anything away from the original God of War, and vice versa. They're both amazing games. They both stand out, and people love them for their own reasons. They love them in their own right. I mean, I see some people saying he's salty. Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't follow him really, so I don't know. But It is what it is, dude. You know, he's entitled to his opinion. Like, I would never be mad at somebody for saying, I think God of War Ragnarok looks like DLC. I'll disagree, and I would probably suggest to them, you probably shouldn't buy the game then. Like, genuinely. Like, if somebody saw that God of War Ragnarok trailer and they're like, that just straight up looks like DLC, I'm going to tell them, like, you might want to hold off on buying it then, and maybe wait and see what people say if you actually believe that. But I don't believe that, you know, at all. I believe that it's going to be the opposite. I think when God of War Ragnarok drops, people are going to be like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. You know, this is exactly what we've been waiting for. And I do want more of the same. I'm gonna be real right now. I do want more of the same. Like, there's the idea of Kratos and Atreus journeying to like ancient Egypt and you know, facing off with Egyptian mythology. Does that sound really appealing and awesome? And or Japanese mythology? That would be incredible. But I am more interested at this moment in time in this section of the game and the story wrapping up and coming full circle and having that closure, you know? And I'm okay. Like, that's what I want. I don't want to. It would be weird to me if, like, the way the second game left off, if we just jumped into like, now we're here, I'd be like, what happened to Thor and whatnot? It's like, I don't know, but this is different, right? So you definitely don't think it's DLC. I wouldn't want that. That's you know, that has to come later. It's hard to improve on near perfection. I mean, yeah, dude, it is. Absolutely it is. I'm going to say this. I get scared with Sony games ever since The Last of Us Part 2. I'm just straight up. I'm just being totally transparent and honest. I get scared to have expectation because my expectations have never ever been so thoroughly obliterated quite like they were with that. And I'm not trying, like, this is not me hating on The Last of Us 2. I'm just saying, in my brain, like, what I thought I was getting versus what I actually got, it makes me scared. Like, what I think I'm getting with God of War Ragnarok, I get nervous. Like, what if something absolutely ridiculous happens that I'm just like, not again. Please God, not again. Like, I get scared. I'm not gonna. I do. I really get scared, man, because oh man, you know what I think of sometimes? No, I'm not hating, dude. Just because I'm saying, look, see, this is why I fucking hate even mentioning it, because I'm not hating it, man. I'm just simply saying, PTSD. I'm just simply saying that, like, I'll never forget when I saw. Do you guys remember that trailer that Naughty Dog released? And the reason why I'm not hating, by the way, is because I'm over it. Like, it is what it is, man. You either love The Last of Us 2 or you hate it, and it is what it is. You know, it's fine. But the one thing I wanted to say is that, and I'll never forget this, as long as I'm covering video games. Do you remember that trailer that came out for The Last of Us 2? I think there was a state of play they did for. Now, it wasn't just for The Last of Us, but at the end of the state of play, I think it was like September 2019, they released a trailer. And at the end of the trailer, it was Joel being like, you didn't think I would let you do this alone, did you? And you, like, dude, oh my God, I fucking hate Naughty Dog for doing that. I'll tell you why. Because, like, the reason why I hate that they did that is because they very intentionally made you believe with that trailer that you were going on another journey with Joel, and that, like, Joel was going to team up with Ellie again. And I'll never forget, like, when I saw that trailer, my fucking hype levels skyrocketed. And I don't know how many of you remember, but I made, like, theory videos where I was like, maybe this is what Joel and Ellie are going to be doing. And I was just so excited to, like, see them back at it together. And then what ended up happening in the game, I was like, it was legit just a straight up lie. It was a bait and switch. And I was just like, what the actual fuck? Yeah, and it ended up being Jesse. And I'm like, bro, what? I'll never forget that, man. And I'll tell you, like, I have like a kind of disdain for Naughty Dog and that they were actually fucking willing to do that with their trailer and just straight up mislead their audience. I did not like that. I mean, dude, I was theorizing Joel's a ghost. Joel's a hallucination. I would have never guessed in a million years. That ain't Joel, bro. That ain't Joel. I mean, I will say on some level, I respect Naughty Dog for having just the brass balls to do something like that. I mean, that takes some level of respect where it's like, damn. I mean, that's, yeah, dude, MGS2 did kind of the same thing. Crazy shit, man. The old switcheroo. Yeah, well, I guess I'm just saying, like, I always have just a little part of me where I'm like, so God of War Ragnarok, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Because that might happen, and I need to be ready for that just in case. Because I'm, again, like, my visual of God of War Ragnarok is it's Kratos and Atreus back at it. They're getting in there, and they're gonna go on, another journey here, and the closest thing that I could see happening, Kratos is actually, so he says Kratos is actually a woman. Oh, I mean, yeah, that would, who knows? Maybe. I mean, that would be quite the shocker. But I mean, the craziest thing I'm anticipating is that Atreus, maybe not Atreus turns on Kratos, but like Kratos dies, maybe? Like, I could see that happening. Like, he dies fighting Thor, something like that. And then, yeah, I could see that. But that's like the craziest thing I can envision. I mean, what if we see something totally whack? Like, here we go. In like the first act of the game, by the end of the first act, Freya kills Kratos and then adopts Atreus, and then you play the rest of the game as Freya, and Kratos is just gone. And like, Atreus has to maybe deal with some intense emotion. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Who knows? You say I'm reaching, bro. I'm not reaching for shit. I'm just preparing myself for anything. You would delete the game from your SSD. The story writes itself. Or, yeah, no. Okay, what if Thor, in the first act of the game, there's the first big battle between Thor and Kratos, and Thor kills Kratos and leaves Atreus for dead, and then Freya has to adopt him because Kratos is gone, and then you play as Atreus for the rest of the game. I don't know. I see a lot of people saying like Atreus will kill Kratos. Why? Like, that doesn't make sense to me though. Why would Atreus kill Kratos? Like, why? I don't. You play as Tyr? Oh yeah, true. No. Oh my god, dude. I don't know, man. I'm sorry, but like, I just can't. You can't call. See, the one thing I will say about The Last of Us is a lot of people were saying that, look, Naughty Dog did what they did in The Last of Us because it's a brutal world where like anybody is expendable. Like Ellie could die at any moment, whatever. And that they like wanted to make that clear. That it's just a brutal world where, there's always something coming around and nobody's safe, right? And I get that. But I don't think that same logic applies to a game like God of War, because I mean, what the hell would God of War be without like Kratos? Like, legit, what would it be? People, dude, this past week, people are fucking weird, man. Like, I was on Twitter and I was making a video where I was talking about The Last of Us, and it got me thinking about Joel and Ellie. And Joel's one of my favorite characters. All I tweeted out was a picture of Joel, and I said, I think, he's one of the best video game characters of all time. Dude, oh my God, these people, they say we're salty, like people who are fans of Joel and were upset. These people won't give it a fucking rest. I'm just sitting here saying that I think Joel's a cool character, and they're out here being like, Abby's better, Abby. And I'm like, Like, please go away. Jesus. Like, we're not even having this conversation right now. You know, they're out. I actually see people insulting Joel. They're insulting a fictional character. I'm like, yo, look, I didn't really like Abby as a character, but I'm not going to come out here and start writing insults on Twitter. Like, she's not real. She's not real. Like, people are crazy, dude. I fucking hate Twitter. And somebody was like, dude, you're starting a war. And I was like, I'm starting a war by just saying I think Joel's one of the best characters. And people are like, oh, he's overrated. He's this and that. But I fucking promise you, you ready? I promise you, all these people who are shitting on Joel, they were the same people that were like, The Last of Us 1 was amazing before we even knew about The Last of Us 2. They were out here celebrating it, saying it was one of the greatest games they ever played. I promise you that. I promise you that. Man, this has been a very rant-driven podcast, hasn't it? Really has. But yeah, no, I did enjoy Joel as a character, and I will give this to The Last of Us 2. I will say this, even though in The Last of Us 2, Joel was his screen time and like, you know, we all know what happened. I will say the one cool thing that they did in the game for Joel was they humanized him a lot more, and I appreciated that. I'm gonna be honest, like I know it's like, oh well, they got rid of Joel because they hated him. I mean, look, it was a tough pill to swallow, but there were moments in The Last of Us 2 where, you know, like it did humanize him more as a character, and I think you know they were showing the inner workings between Joel and Ellie over time. And that's why I think it's so weird that some people are like, actually, like, I hate Joel. He's the worst character ever. Like, I don't know, man. I thought that it was pretty good. Like, I thought that with, you know, Joel as a character was a pretty good character, you know? But, and I'm not saying, and I agree with people when they were like, dude, Joel was kind of like a not I mean, maybe he was a monster, but like he was a savage dude, man. Like he was not necessarily good. Like he was, you know, he was a stone cold killer. Yeah. And I think, like, to me, that's what makes his character kind of interesting and unique, is because it has this duality where it's like, he's not perfect at all. Like, actually, he has some really bad qualities, but the game, and what I liked about The Last of Us one so much, is that the game did a good job in making you feel for him. Like, you know, like the ending of The Last of Us 1 is so amazing because, like, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of humanity. And that's what made it so fucking good. And that's, dude, I'm telling you now, man, the worst thing about The Last of Us 2 that I was just like, there's no fucking way they're actually doing this. I don't mean to go on this tangent, but I don't have anything else to talk about. I think that's all the topics, really. Or we could talk a little bit more about Pedro Pascal. The thing that, like, when I saw this happen in The Last of Us 2, I was like, there's no way they're actually doing this. They had you, when you were playing as Abby, like your dog, and she, you know, they had you play fetch with the dog and create this kind of almost small bond with the dog, to then later, when you play as Ellie, you had to kill the dog because it was attacking you. And the game literally tries to make you hate Ellie for doing that. Even though it's like, she's being attacked by a dog, she's gonna have to kill it. And I just think that's like, are you like, this is what you have to do to get me to care about your new character? Oh no, your doggo? Like, oh, come on, man. I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, you know, they show that scene where Joel kills, you're saying it's not that deep, MBG. Oh, dude, make no mistake. You think that's not, trust me, that's actually exactly why they did that. And I get what they're going for. Like, they want me to not like, they want me to not like Ellie, or not root for Ellie. They want me to not root for Joel. They want me to root for the new character. And dude, I will say that, dude, that was fucking crazy. That one part of The Last of Us 2 when Ellie straight up murdered that woman that was with child, that was where I was like, okay, I will admit that the one thing in that made me feel like, Ellie, I think you might want to give this up now and just walk away, is after that. So I was like, holy shit, that was the game was, dude, that game was brutal, man. I mean, look, the more I think back on The Last of Us 2, the more I realize, like, yeah, it did things that were just crazy, man. And I admit, like, there's weight to it, but I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. It just didn't do it for me in the way that I hoped it would, you know? And I just think that the ending of the game was just so utterly depressing, where I'm like, you know, dealing with nihilism in real life is already quite enough. You know, now I have to have the most nihilistic ending to this character, you know? But yeah, it was, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how the internet reacts when Naughty Dog reveals their next game. I'm not counting The Last of Us Online. I don't think anybody will be talking about The Last of Us Part 2 really when the online drops, but I'm talking about like their next story game. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, I think the thing that I ultimately didn't like, and I'll just say this because I know I'm going on like my last. This happens occasionally. I got to go on my Last of Us 2 rant. It's still living rent free in my head. I think the thing that like, just to kind of get to the point, the thing that I didn't like about The Last of Us 2 is that it wanted me to embrace new characters. Like Abby and Lev and you know, their people and their squad and whatnot and their family, and they wanted me to embrace those new characters, but they wanted to do it at the expense of Joel and Ellie and their whole thing. And I understand, like, from like a writer's perspective and like a storyteller's perspective, like, that is, you know, that is a really challenging thing to do. Like, that's like almost like an impossible task, and it's risky. And I do kind of respect them in a way for doing that, because it's like, yeah, that is. But I don't know. They wanted you to like kind of start the game as like you're angry, you're filled with rage, and I want to go enact my revenge. And then in the whole process of doing that, you realize that, well, there's a whole nother aspect to this that you're not viewing. But it's like, I don't know. I guess how it's like, yeah, everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a different story, but I don't know. I just don't know that I need to see like as the player, just it just made me feel like, well, I guess there's no point to any of this. There was no point to anything Joel did. There was no point to anything Ellie did. You know, and there's no point to anything that Abby or any of those characters do, because every time I'm thinking about The Last of Us and the characters in that world, I'm just thinking, well, there's another point of view here. What? Well, that person that just died, I mean, I'm sure they had people that cared about them too. It's like, yeah, of course. And maybe ideally the whole thing would just be, let's all not fight. But I don't know. I don't know. Artie Linu, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm just going to call you Adrian just to keep, I do this every time. Adrian, you're saying, I'm late to the live. What's happening with God of War? I appreciate the effort, MBG. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. We were just talking about the story of God of War. We were talking a little bit about the DLC, like it being called DLC and whatnot. But we were talking about the direction the story could go in. KD, you're saying, hey, MBG, just joined your stream and you got to chill. Yeah, I don't know, man. I had too much coffee. I'm going to be honest. This entire stream has been off the rails entirely, just straight up therapy session, this entire stream. But that's what happens. That's what happens when I chug too much coffee. So, all right, The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to The Last of Us is the HBO series and how, apparently Pedro Pascal, and I don't know, I was surprised. A lot of people were very frustrated and annoyed where Pedro Pascal was interviewed and he revealed that he did not actually play The Last of Us to prepare for the role of Joel. In fact, he said that he watched I believe he said it was his nephew play. He didn't say the whole game. He said like a lot of it, but I'm not so sure about that. But he said he watched his nephew play the game and he really liked Joel. He liked what they did with the game. He liked the graphics, but he ended up saying ultimately that he wanted to create what he called like a healthy distance, where he was afraid that if he, I guess, played the game or, got all into it, he would want to imitate Joel. And I think Neil Druckmann actually even took to Twitter to kind of respond to this. And I want to read what he said because it was definitely a response to the conversation. He said, and this is what Neil Druckmann said. He says, "My 2 cents on adaptations. I believe the great ones reinterpret while capturing the essence of the source material. They never just imitate. Think of the great performances between Mark Hamill, Joaquin Phoenix, Heath Ledger, and Jack Nicholson, all unique Jokers, all faithful." And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't think Neil Druckmann's wrong in that assessment, but I will say this. Okay. Him using the example of the Joker and the different actors who represented or portrayed the Joker, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that each one of them, Jack Nicholson, even Jared Leto, I know you didn't mention him, and I know people like hate Jared Leto's Joker, and it's understandable, but even Jared Leto, they all, to an extent, I'm sure, did some research on the character of the Joker. Like, they read some comic books, they looked into it, and I understand the notion that it's like, well, Pedro Pascal is not the one directing this. He's not the one writing this. He is an actor. So he is going to show up on set and he's going to read the script and he's going to act in his mind how he thinks Joel should be. And it's going to be up to Neil Druckmann and I forget the other guy that's directing it. It's going to be up to them as the directors to either say, okay, Pedro, that's what we wanted. That's what we were hoping to get from you as Joel. Or they're going to have to say, Pedro, that's not what we were going for. We're going more for this type of feel. And I mean, that's where it's like, I kind of get where I guess I'm trying to understand, like, if I was an actor and I didn't play video games and I didn't play The Last of Us, or I just watched a little bit of it and I just got a little idea of what Joel's like, I could kind of understand where it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if I had to play the Joker, yeah, I mean, let's be real. If I had to play the Joker, not that I'm an actor, but if I did, like, all I would be thinking in my head is, well, there's Heath Ledger, and I know what his Joker's like, and then there's Joaquin Phoenix, and these guys are considered the best, and then Jack Nicholson. What do I do? Like, what would I do? Like, what would my take on the Joker? And it almost gets to a point where it's like, yeah, there's going to be imitation at some point. And I don't think the Joker, I guess what I'm trying to say here, I don't think the Joker is the best example for Neil Druckmann to use in this case, because there's a lot of different incarnations of the Joker, and there always will be. And there will be, to an extent, a certain amount of imitation. This is going to be the first time we see a live adaptation of Joel. And I don't think it would be harmful to basically make this version of Joel really similar to the one from the game. Because it's going to be, I'm telling you now, it's going to be bad news if Pedro Pascal comes out and he's like, hey, Ellie, let's go kill some clickers or something like that. You know, like just something totally weird where it's like, why is this dude so happy? Why is he smiling? Why is he laughing so much? You know, it's like, it just seems like it's just not Joel, right? I mean, it could end up just being, it's just Pedro Pascal with a serious demeanor, you know, and having like a rugged tone to him. You're saying that was terrible, MBG. Well, that's the point. Like, that's what we don't want. I mean, I don't want an actor to come out and feel like I have to be Troy Baker right now. Like, it doesn't need to be that much, right? But that's where I'm saying I'm telling you this. If we get a version of Joel that's like, what am I looking at right now? Like, I'm supposed to believe this is Joel from The Last of Us, and we're just like, this is terrible. I'm going to be honest, that's not Pedro Pascal's fault. That's going to be on the fault of the director and of the writers. Because there have been times where you get the perfect actor, everything's just great. But the writers just don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's like, I don't know. I think of like other adaptations. It was like, do you remember what Tom Holland said about playing Nathan Drake? Where he was like, I had to be stoic and I had to have my muscles glistening. And it was like, and I'm like, did you even play? Do you even know who Nathan Drake is? Do you have any idea what Uncharted actually is? Because if you do, you'll know that that is not Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is not stoic. He's the furthest thing from it. And he's certainly not the type that's sitting there trying to make his muscles flex. You know, it's like, and so what this tells me is that if that's what his interpretation of what he thought Uncharted was and who Nathan Drake was, clearly the directors and the writers had to make the Uncharted movie what it was, because I don't know, man, like I watched the Uncharted movie and I'm like, your muscles are not really glistening, man. You know, like, and you didn't come off stoic either. So it's almost like, I feel like in Tom Holland's mind, this is how he viewed Drake, but the director and the writer were like, well, that's not how you're going to act, because that's not the character of Nathan Drake. You know what I mean? And I feel like we could see a similar situation with Pedro Pascal, where I don't know what the filming is like. I don't know what it's like on set. It would be cool to know, but I mean, I would imagine that if Pedro Pascal walked on, I mean, they do, they try out for these roles. I think people need to remember that as well. It's not like they just said, we're just going to hire Pedro Pascal because we think he would be a good Joel. He had to come in and do a reading and basically do a scene as Joel. And clearly whatever he did was good enough to where the director, Neil Druckmann, they were like, yeah, we think you can play Joel. We think you'll be a good Joel. And so what that tells me is that, assuming this is going to be good, it tells me that whatever Pedro Pascal's version of Joel is in his mind and that he's acting must be pretty good. Because I don't know, man. I know a lot of people are nervous with Neil Druckmann directing this. They're like, he's just gonna ruin the character of Joel. But I don't necessarily believe that. You know, I think he still cares. Like, obviously, you're gonna have to make sure it's good. But I don't know. A lot of people are basically saying that they have no hope for the Last of Us TV series or the HBO series. I'm not at that point. I actually still have a lot of hope for it. I hope it's not bad though. I'm excited. I want it to be good. Okay. Figuratively literal, you're saying, this is just my take, but I saw the end. We're talking about The Last of Us Part 2 as Ellie moving on from Joel and accepting his loss, but its execution left a bit to be desired. Well, the thing is, yeah, I mean, I got that too, and I feel like really what the fact that she couldn't play the guitar is supposed to be, I think, symbolic of the fact that, like, she literally did every possible thing she could have just to come to the same conclusion. Like, it was very much like a full circle where it's like, your only choice after what happened to Joel was to move on or don't. And Ellie chose to do the opposite. Ellie chose to say, I'm going to go on the craziest killing spree and I'm going to kill them all, right? And she almost did that. And like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, she should have killed Abby. And it's like, I mean, look, I know that it would have been more satisfying as the player if she killed Abby, but in reality, it's like she did realize that, and I gotta admit, I do think it was executed well in this particular instance where they showed the flashback of Joel and he just kind of looked over, like she remembers like seeing Joel and Joel was just hunched over, drinking his coffee, or he was playing his guitar and he was just looking at her. And I did think that was actually cool because I don't know, that kind of did feel real to me in a you know, in a way, because it was like she realized as she's literally about, like she won in that moment and she knew she won. Like, you got what you wanted. She's dead. Like, Abby's dead. But she just realized in that moment that it doesn't make a damn difference. Now, I'm going to be honest. The moment, like the flashback was realistic, but no, I'm telling you now, no one would do that. And I'm just saying, like, I thought the moment was awesome, but I guess what kind of bothered me is like, I'm like, no one would actually do that, man. Like, you would not have your father's killer in the grips of your hands, and you like, and you're like right there, and you wouldn't just let them walk away. And I say this just from a just a purely biological protective standpoint. I mean, unless Ellie really just kind of, the more I dissect it from a psychological perspective, unless Ellie was just literally like, I don't care, kill me. Like, go ahead, kill me, I'm done. Unless Ellie was in that state of mind, which she could have been, because I'm just saying, like, a normal human being, like a normal, well, let's be real, none of these human beings in this world are normal. But like, biologically speaking, the person would have made sure that Abby died, just straight up, you know, because I think like she would be, I mean, if that were me, even if I was like, you know what, I'm over it. I get it. Like, this doesn't mean anything. You just did what you had to do. I would still probably have to finish the job because I would be fearful that, well, if I don't, she's going to kill me. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was kind of weird where it's like, I don't know. I admit, like, it's interesting to dissect and it creates some interesting conversation, but yeah, I mean, I know that like the conversation around The Last of Us 2 is really toxic, but I will admit that what they did had a lasting impact, for better or for worse. It did, you know? So, Zanarkhan Blitzer, you're saying, happy Easter MBG. Tom Holland played all the Uncharted games with his best friend in between filming the Spider-Man films. What is this Pascal guy thinking? That's what I'm saying, man. I'm nervous. Like, I don't want to see a bizarro version of Joel where it's like happy-go-lucky Joel where he feels bad for everything he's doing, you know, and hesitates. Like, that would just be the weirdest thing ever. And you know what's even stranger to me is that new movie that Pedro Pascal is in called The Unbearable Weight of, I forget what it's called, but it's the movie about Nicolas Cage where he's literally playing himself. Apparently the movie is really, really good. Apparently it's the highest rated movie that Nicolas Cage has ever played in. Like, it's getting like the best reviews ever, which is shocking. And I see the character he's playing in that movie and I'm like, I'm supposed to believe this guy's going to be Joel? Yeah, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And that to me is kind of funny because I'm like, dude, this guy seems like the last dude who should be playing Joel. But I haven't seen him in other roles really. So I don't know if he's played like other like tough guy roles. I know he's in quite a few different things. Watch him in Narcos. Okay, yeah, maybe I should check that out. He's an actor, MBG. No, I know that, but I'm just saying it's like if you see somebody in a more comedic role, and that's really like the only experience you have watching an actor in a role like that, and then you have to visualize them in another. I mean, yeah, he's an actor, man. So I'm hoping he'll shock the hell out of me. And I'll be like, whoa, this guy's great as Joel. I know a lot of people say he's a really good actor, so all right, let me see. Hickzock, and thank you for that, Zanarkand Blitzer. Hickzock, you're saying The Last of Us 2 is amazing once you let it go. Empathy, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I will say it's easier to talk about the further I distance myself from it. Let me see. Always Busy, you're saying you missed the entire point of The Last of Us 2. It's not hate Joel and Ellie. It's two opposing forces, both seeking revenge, but Abby getting redemption the same way Joel did. Now, the last 20 minutes story was, yeah. Well, okay, I get that too. Yeah, I don't know. I'll always be like, salty about The Last of Us 2 only because I wanted more Joel and Ellie. That's what I wanted. And we did get those moments in the game, but I'm just straight up, I just didn't like playing as Abby. I didn't. Like all I wanted to do, I was just like, man, and I'm going to be real. This is why I'm not as opposed to a Last of Us remake as most other people, because I want to replay that. And if they bring out a newer version that looks better and plays better, and and they don't change anything too significantly story-wise or anything like that, then I'm open to that, because it's like, that was my favorite experience with Joel and Ellie. And I enjoyed that experience with Joel and Ellie way more than The Last of Us 2. And the ending of The Last of Us 1 didn't make me feel good. It didn't. It made me feel like conflicted. To whereas The Last of Us 2 ending just straight up made me feel like just straight crap, man. And I didn't really like that. So you're saying Steve Carell is a perfect example of a comedian that can do dramatic roles. That's true. That is true. He is a good example. KD, you're saying you need to join King Thrash at the Roundtable podcast. Davey Jaffe was on last night defending the God of War DLC statement. I heard you were invited, but they said no, you were scared of black people. Come on. Why would they say that? I hope they didn't say that. That's absolutely not true. That's not cool. But no, it's nothing personal to anybody, really. I don't really know King Thrash. I don't know David Jaffe that well. I just kind of catch these things in passing, and I'm just cool doing my solo thing here. I'm not looking to kind of really get into it with other people and conversations. And I'm not saying that won't change one day, but I'm satisfied and I'm comfortable with the way things are. And you're saying Thrash is a funny guy. He was just messing about. No, I know. I don't I don't take offense to it. I know it's all jokes, but no, it's nothing personal against anybody. I'm just, I'm cool just being the lone wolf guy out here, and every now and again I'll interact with some people, but it's just how I prefer. But yeah, guys, that's it. I'm gonna have to end the stream now because I have some stuff to do on this Easter Sunday. So I want to end the podcast by again thanking everybody. I want to ask you guys one more favor before you head out. Please hit the like button if you could. If you could like the stream, that would help it a lot. And remember, you guys can become channel members. I do apologize. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to do my member credit scroll reading today. That never happens. I'm actually extremely pressed for time. I went longer than I should have. So I do apologize for that. But nonetheless, thank you to all my members. I appreciate you guys supporting me on a monthly basis. And I'll be sure to shout you guys out on the next podcast. KD, you're saying they said you told them you don't do podcasts / collabs right after doing Colin's podcast. LMAO, you should definitely join them though. Great pod. Yeah, so really quick before I go, I will say that was me going on Sacred Symbols that day, or Sacred Symbols Plus. That was me just attempting to, branch out just a little bit. And I love Sacred Symbols, and I love what they do, and it's not them, but I'll put it to you this way. The Sacred Symbols audience did not take too kindly to me. And that's no offense. That's not that it just didn't work that well. That's all. They just weren't a big fan of the MBG brand. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, it's fine. It's totally fine. I'm not upset. I get it. And it was a nice little thing. And I thought it was awesome that they extended, and I'm always appreciative of anybody who invites me anywhere, but I just think it's better that I just stick with the lone wolf thing here, but yeah, that's all it comes down to. So, but I appreciate that, man. Thank you guys for the super chats. Again, anytime I do, I just want to say, I think that like the Sacred Symbols, and it's not just them, I think like a lot of different communities, I think that they do kind of have a view of me where it's like, dude, you're kind of just a fanboy. And I get that. Like, I get why people see that. And I'm not there to try to, I don't feel the need to try to like convince people, they have their own people that they like listening to. And that's why I just kind of do this solo podcast because, you guys are here and I don't need to necessarily worry about appeasing certain audiences. Saying real quick though, what's your favorite Soundgarden song? Dude, I mean, that's tough. I will say, dude, there are two songs from the Down on the Upside album that I feel like are just the most underrated songs. I don't know why they're not like super hit songs because they're just so good. The one song is Tighter and Tighter, and the other is Overfloater. They're not necessarily my all-time favorite, but those are two super like underrated songs, Soundgarden songs that I think people should listen to. They're really good. KD, you're saying it's not personal. You're known as the abandoned is MGS guy on the internet. Yeah, that's what I mean, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. Devil Shooter, you're saying again, thank Griffin and Fritanga for that. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I'm trying to do my own thing here. I got my own opinions. I got my own feelings on things. And I'm just trying to have a good time with it, So, but all right, guys, that's it. I'm definitely like out of time here. So, thank you guys so much. I hope everybody has a good Easter and enjoys the rest of their Sunday. We'll see what happens this upcoming week. I'm really hoping that Sony has some more things to say and do and talk about, and something comes up of these rumors. I don't know, man. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen this week? We'll find out. But until next time, guys, take care.